What is going on, everybody? How are y'all doing tonight? I hope we're having a good time. I hope that y'all are excited about games that might be coming out. I hope you're playing a game that's making you excited. Overall, though, I hope that you're just having a good time gaming. Welcome back to the Gaming Den. This is a place where gamers get together. We talk about the week in gaming, whether that be news, games coming out, the comings and goings of studios, things of that nature. Mainly just everything surrounding video games and gaming. Very excited to bring you another week this week. We have GameLogIQ and Faulkner joining us tonight. Really excited. Love both of those guys when they're on the show. It's so good. We have a great time. Go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. It is a slow news week, but we definitely have some strings that we can pull. Some things that went on that definitely deserve discussion, even if it's only to talk about the sensationalism in gaming and in the gaming news segment. But let's go over these topics just real quick. Here's the list for tonight. We have a Sony PlayStation user check-in for digital licenses. Oh my gosh, the whole world fell over and it's just a bad day. So we're going to discuss that. Then, do we need more suffering and sadness in video games? There is a developer that said that, and as a PlayStation, player, it's I don't know if I need any more sadness. I had The Last of Us, I had God of War, I have Ghost of Tsushima, Ghost of Yotei. I have we get enough sadness. Hell, even Aunt May died in Spider-Man. So we get a ton of sadness. So we're gonna see maybe what these guys mean and pull on that thread a little bit. Then Koei Tecmo has actually had a really good year. And so, yeah, just want to shine some light on that. Some good news in gaming. We hear so much about studios shutting down, closing, having bad time, having bad numbers. And so it is nice to shine some light on a good one when it happens. And then we have PlayStation Plus free games not free games. I hate it when they say that. PlayStation Plus essential titles for the month of May coming up. We have Wu-Chang Fallen Feathers, Nine Souls, and EA Sports FC 26. We're going to discuss our temperature on that. Then, once it keeps going, Microsoft responds to backwards compatibility issues. So basically, some people can't touch their Xbox 360 games on their Xbox console. That sounds amazing. That sounds awesome. Oh, and it's a rare issue affecting a small number of players, says Gandalf the Grey. And so we're going to dive into that, see what's going on there. And then, of course, I am getting this tomorrow. We have Saros. It is out. Well, for early release, which I did not pay for. It is out. It is ready to go. Reviews are coming out. It's scoring pretty dang well. And as you can see right here, there's somebody who's even calling it Game of the Year. I don't know who that is. I haven't touched it, but I am excited. And then if we have the time, if not, I am definitely saving this one since I've done videos on this before in the past. But there is a new study that has come out that there is such a thing as post-game depression. It's basically the feeling of emptiness you get and after beating a game and kind of what that takes on the mental state of a gamer and why it sometimes takes us a while to dive back into something else or, really does affect us in that way. So really interesting. I read a little bit of the article. Definitely want to dive into this if we have time. If not, it will be a topic for next week because this is something that I've been talking about for quite some time. Right now, we do have 8 people here. If you could hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. We do the show every week. And it's very exciting. Like I said, all things gaming related. If you want to support the channel financially, you can hit the join button. If you want to help me help YouTube give me money, you can then hit like. You can share this out, subscribing, all of those little things, hitting all the buttons and all that stuff. With that being said, y'all aren't here to see me. You're here to see the guest. I know better. And so let's bring him in. Faulkner will be joining us here shortly. And here we have Logic. How are you, sir?
Good, Thrifty. Good. How are you?
I'm good. I just took a sip of my coffee and it was super hot. But other than that, I'm great. That burned. It's okay. So, man, as we do every week, before we get into all of the news surrounding this week, and I say all in quotes, Before we get into what's up, Cursed Kane? Hey, welcome. Hadn't seen your name in a while. How are you? If before we get into all the junk, what games have you been playing?
I'm checking the chat to see who's here.
We got Cursed Kane, Rachy, and Josh Ayers are the three that are here currently. And we have 11 total sitting in here lurking behind the keyboard.
That's cool. I don't have any of those people who are always checking my gameplay to worry about. So I can be honest about what I've been playing. So I haven't been playing. This is just it's been a mechanical week so far for me.
It's a safe space, sir.
Because I came back off vacation like the middle of last week, so been a little slow to turn the corner. So I haven't been playing anything story oriented. I've just been playing Call of Duty Black Ops 7 on PC, and actually that was kind of all I played when I got back. Just because things have been busy, I just really haven't had time to think, and so I've just been kind of playing the default. Today, interestingly enough, again, not a super exciting game for anyone who's part of a main podcast audience, but I did reinstall PGA Tour Golf 2K25.
Okay.
And, which is kind of a relaxing, like Zen-like game, for me to play.
It definitely used to be.
What's interesting from a technical perspective is it's one of the few like AAA games, right, being made with Unity right now. So I was really surprised to find out that it uses that engine.
Really?
Yeah. I thought it was super strange when I saw that.
I figured they would have used the same engine they use for the rest of their crap.
Yeah.
Huh.
And when the game launched, it launched capped at 60 frames per second. So strangely enough, I booted up tonight. I was playing on a 38-inch IPS screen, so a really beautiful display. And I boot the thing up, and I'm running MSI, and I almost didn't start MSI Afterburner because the last few times I played it, I'm like, why would I bother doing it? It's just going to say 60 frames per second, so I like it. So yeah. When I was playing it regularly before I had uninstalled it, I didn't even bother bringing it up. But I turned it on tonight just to check it and verify. And as the game's coming up, I'm kind of not paying attention, and my eyes just kind of drift over to the upper left-hand corner, which is where I stick Afterburner, and it's saying 144 frames per second. And I start looking around. I'm like, oh, it looks like they went in and did it. So I haven't checked patch notes yet because like I said, I've been away for a while and I haven't played this game for a while. But I think they've done some graphical updates because it looks like things are looking a lot sharper and a lot better, especially like the water effects and things like that. But of particular note is the fact that they uncapped the frame rate, which I just thought was pretty dope. It's always nice to get graphical improvements and stuff in a game that you bought. So, but yeah, that's all I've been playing recently.
Man, you talk about the week after you've been gone for a while. Well, the week we got back from Florida, I was exhausted. Like, there was, because we got back on Sunday late, and I had to work Monday. And then it was just on to the regular, normal, like, daily routines. And it did not leave much time for rest, recuperation, relaxation, or anything. So I definitely understand that. That was kind of a rough week for me in gaming. But lately, I've been playing Mouse PI for Hire, and I played what amounted to the worst demo I have ever played in my life on Steam. And not worst because the game was bad or the mechanics sucked or it was flawed in any way. It was the worst because it didn't really give me a taste of the game. And the demo I played was from Steam, and it is I'm going to say this wrong, in Konbini. It's the supermarket clerk game that Innate and Morgan are super excited about. And they saw that they had a demo on Steam, downloaded it, and I swear to you, you get to organize the shelves and check out one person. You don't even get like the proper feel of like what it looks like the next day or how you're supposed to close anything or anything like that. Nope. You get to check out one person. It takes about 20 minutes and it's done. And I'm like, all right. So I was like, man, a demo is supposed to give me enough to like latch onto, and this one didn't give me anything. So I was like, okay, well, fun. But outside of that, I've been playing Mouse PI for Hire. I was yesterday was a really weird day because I was all set yesterday to play Saros because, well, stupid me. I thought when the trailer said it came out on May 28th, on April 28th, what it meant was I could play it on April 28th. Not that I needed to purchase an extra edition to the game to be able to play it 2 days early. So stupid me. And so you mean the 7-Eleven game in Japan? Yes, exactly. That's right. Hey, listen, man, I stocked those shelves though. You don't get it twisted. My shelves were perfect. I missed a couple labels, but I didn't turn the cans of cat food around. But anyways, that aside. Anyways, so I wasn't able to play Saros. And so last night I was like, I didn't want to play anything. I ended up playing Mouse PI for Hire. But I was like, man, I don't want to do nothing. I was so set to play Saros yesterday that when I was like, man, I don't want to pay the freaking $10 for 2 days of early access. That's stupid. I hate that shit. So I was like, I'm just going to wait. And so now tomorrow, it would have been so cool too, because I accidentally, because of the weather, got the day off yesterday and I wasn't supposed to. So I was stoked. I even told my wife, I said, hey, you go ahead and get the schooling started with the kids. Just pretend I'm not here. Do it like any other normal day. And I'm going to go play a new game that I'm about to grab. And it was going to be like the first game in a long time that I actually had off on release day. And then I came in and it showed that it was available for pre-order and blah, blah. And I was like, wait, what? And so I was none too pleased. But hey, don't support pain. Listen, Dizzy, it stopped me so bad. I didn't blow you off, I promise. I did not blow you off. It was 9 o'clock my time by the time I was going to be able to do anything. And so that's what happened. It was 9 o'clock by the time I sat down. I was able to collect any kind of my thoughts. And so yeah, we're still going to be finishing that. It's but literally I sat down at 9 and Josh hit me up and was like, hey, if you still want to play Gears tonight, I'm down. And I was like, I don't have it in me to do. I can't share my gaming with anybody right now. I just need to be in my own head because I'm spent. But yesterday I tried NTE. The game is good. I need to play more to see if I enjoy the characters. Somebody in the chat, I think it was, what's up, Miku? Dear goodness, we got a lot of people in here I haven't seen in a while. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Also, hey, if you're not in our Discord, you can join the Discord. The link is in the description below. But NTE was a game that was sent to me, I think, by Hero in the Discord. And I don't have time to put into those things. But that's what I've been doing. Mouse PI for Hire is a great game. Everybody should play that. It's really fun. It doesn't take too much commitment. And goodness, go into the thing expecting to have a fun time and a laugh. It's like Logic. Maybe, have you ever been to a comedy show?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been to a comedy show. There are people, I found this out, who go to a comedy show upset, not expecting to laugh. And then they leave and they have a bad time because they went with the expectation of, oh, this isn't going to be funny. If you go into this game thinking you're going to get some deep, high-class, high-level invested story about a mouse detective in a city called Mouseburg, please, you're going to be sad and upset. But if you approach it for what it is, and funny enough, if you like cheese, like if you've sampled a cheese platter before, you'll get some of the jokes. Like, one of the stupid things I do at my house is, as a dad, I get to make really dumb, ignorant jokes. And so I'll make a ton of cheese references, and I've done that forever. Like, I didn't mean to be cheesy, but was it Gouda? See, like stuff like that. And the game is filled with stuff like that. It makes me chuckle every time. But just go into the game and have some fun. Nelson Gaming 12 said Pragmata is the Billy Goat. Nice. It's all dad jokes, man. That's all it is. It's like they got a group of 35 to 45-year-old dads in the room and said, "Hey guys, we want y'all to write a story about a mouse detective. Go." And they were like, "Dude, we got you. We've been waiting our whole life for this." But
so one thing I want to ask, so when it comes to, because the game sounds campy,
it's super campy.
And sometimes the problem with camp entertainment is when it tries to act or not recognize that it is camp entertainment. Right?
Oh yeah.
So like, I mean, is this like, it's coming across this way, but does this game like not take itself too seriously?
Oh no,
right?
no. So there's a spot in the game really close to the beginning where you go, and it's when you fight, you're basically looking for an opera singer who left or got missing. We still actually don't fully know what happened to her, but she's missing, and you go, and when she left, basically the opera head, if I understand it correctly, the mayor, that's what it was, created like a robot version of her, and it's a mouse robot, but you have to fight it in 3 different sections until it all comes together in one Voltron-style robot. There's a point there where Jack Pepper goes, "Are they going to do the 3 fights in 1 fight thing?" And so, like, they know what they're doing. They know that they're being ridiculous. They know they're being dumb. They know it's campy. They make fun of themselves throughout it. They point to the fact repeatedly that they are a video game. There are references. So one of the references, the whole thing is like, it's almost a love letter and a satire for the classic noir and that style of animation, Mickey Mouse, all of that. There's one part in there, not where at the beginning where it shows that the steamboats has like the name Willie on the side. That's one callback. But another one is when you're at this level, it's by the docks, and you get on a boat, and it's a steamboat, and they start whistling the Steamboat Willie theme song. And so it's a pretty cool little Easter egg callback that they do, and the song will start over every time you go onto that boat. So it's a pretty cool homage, and they do several things like that. But overall, yes, it's super campy, but it's campy in the sense that they're in on the joke as well. And so
yeah, that's good.
It is. It's really good. What is up, Byron Cutler? Holy crap, Wild Wolf. Dang, it is good seeing some of y'all. Man, that's exciting. Okay, so Raichi said NTE is ZZZ, Ghostwire Tokyo, Scarlet Nexus, LA Noire, Sleeping Dog, Waifu Dating Sim. I'm out. I'm out. That sounds awful. But more power to you. I can't talk about other people's gaming choices. I play some very off the wall shit. So I can't. I have been told that you're talking my language. Josh is like salivating over there like this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Okay. So we got 21 people in here. Oh, what were you going to say?
Well, just real quick, and I'm glad Nelson brought up Pragmata. So I have been playing. I picked up Pragmata, and I have played it. I haven't played much of it. I've just played like the first, hour or so, and I bought it on Switch 2. So, but the little tiny bit. I mean, it's a game that I've been very bullish on since we saw it first in 2020.
Sure.
For the long wind up that it's been before this game came out. So, but I'm glad to see that it's doing. That it's doing well on the market, and it's pretty interesting from the first little bit that I played, so I'm looking forward to getting back that.
See, that is... so, Saros is my last video game purchase for a little bit. I mentioned this last show, but one of my kids needs about... I thought it was $2,000. No. We got the estimate in from the dentist. $3,200 in dental work for baby teeth. me and the dentist are gonna have a conversation because I'm like, bro, they're baby teeth. Like, there's these dudes ain't staying in the mouth at all. So why am I trying to save them? They are baby teeth. Anyways, and then my wife just jacked up her shoulder. So that, so yeah, for the next couple, a hammer will take care of that. Thank you, Nelson. I'm sitting here like, man, listen, can we just pull them? And they're like, well, they're eroding a little bit and blah blah. It's like, okay, well, they're baby teeth. Like, can we understand that they're baby teeth? Anyways, that's neither here nor there. We didn't come here to hear dental work. We came here to talk video games. But so that is the only thing that's hanging me up from Pragmata. That and time. Like, I'm almost to the end of Mouse PI for Hire, and I have Saros coming out. Thankfully, Saros is going to be more of a game that I get to keep coming back to because that's kind of the loop. But then I want to get back into Pragmata, but I feel like it's going to be a game that has to wait until like July, because in May I have Wandering Sword and Coffee Talk coming out. Both of those are coming out my birthday week. So like, and it's really cool because one of them's only like $18, which is great. And the other one's $29, I think, because it's a 2D, 3D sprite game. And so yeah, I'm excited about both of those. But let's dive in. What do you want to start with? Let's start with some good news. So what about Ace Combat? Ace Combat is not given a release date. Yeah, I was wrong. Yeah, Josh, thank you. Did he replace his teeth with baby teeth? Did he replace his teeth with Baby Teeth Pro? That's exactly what they did. So now when he smiles, it's in 4K. How do you plan what games you want to play this far ahead without frying your brain? So, Miku, that is a very easy question to answer. I have been doing it since I was in college, which was 2006. So I have been doing it this way for 20 years. Basically what I do is, as the games start to come out, I pick 3 full price games a year. Those are kind of my tentpole games that I base the rest of my year around. And then as other games come out, I pay attention to what's coming out, what's getting sequels, what new IPs or things like that. Such as Pragmata. It's a new IP. Or Wandering Sword. It's adjacent to the wuxia style of Sword and Fairy Together Forever, and so automatically piqued my interest. And then it's HD 2D, so that piqued my interest. So basically, it's just keeping up with the games that are coming out. That's it. There's no secret. Things get bumped, things get moved. It looks like one of my full price games is getting moved, which was Legacy of Atlantis. It looks like that's going to be 2026. So now I have an open slot that I'm going to keep my eye out for on what can fill it. I have Wolverine coming up. Like, it's just knowing what's coming out. It's not like a spreadsheet or anything that I have. It's just in my brain, and I just have an idea of what's coming out. And so, yeah, taxes just paid the bill off. Thank God. Oh my Lord. $9,800. Holy crap. Holy crap. That's a lot. For teeth? How much are dentures? Shit. Just take that shit. Just yank them all and put in fake ones. Like, good Lord, if it was good enough for George Washington, it's good enough for me. Holy crap. $9,800. God. I hate dental work. What is up, Mark Carter? Okay, so Koei Tecmo. Koei Tecmo has announced record-setting profits through fiscal year ending in March 2026. Now, I chose this not because I really just love and or care about Koei Tecmo, but because in the age of let's put out negative shit all the time, I wanted something positive. This is positive, okay? They posted record profits for the fiscal year ending March of 2026. The tenured Japanese game developer and publisher, which rebranded slightly from Tecmo Koei to Koei Tecmo in 2014. That's some Xbox marketing shit right there. has a long and respected history as a premier force in the video game industry. Although gaming is not its only line of business, blah, 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 blah. Basically, they did extremely well because of all of the good decisions they've made. They've released decent games. They've come out. They've hit. They haven't been busted or broken. They had Ninja Gaiden. And so they have done very, very well for themselves. Their Omega Force co-developed along with Game Freak and Neo 3, becoming the fastest selling entry in the Neo franchise, which is really cool. And then, like I said, they had Ninja Gaiden. And so they have done very, very well. And this is just another. Oh, and then they announced Dead or Alive, the last round, to release in June. So, and then a future Dead or Alive project. So they've done a lot. And it's interesting because it's another Japanese developer that is turning the corner and doing well and posting profits. And what are they doing over there? What's in the water over in Japan and over in the East that makes these studios and these companies seemingly do so much better than their counterparts over in the West?
I mean, first of all, it's a completely different ethos in its work culture. And I can't remember. There was either a conversation I was having or something that I'd written. But at any rate, over the last year, I've definitely suggested the question, that maybe there needs to be a conversation about a notion that, I guess we're going to, I don't know, are we talking about Xbox tonight? I don't know if we are.
We have a little bit, just with the backwards compatibility issues that they've apparently been having for a while that got kind of swept under the rug.
Yeah, so this is more about like the high level kind of general Xbox topic about, just the fact that, in many ways they aren't a well-run gaming business. And, when you look back at the 54-year history of the gaming industry, like there's a conversation to maybe have about whether or not a US video gaming company, right, from a platform owner perspective, can be well run. When you look at just kind of how those US companies have performed in comparison to Japanese companies or in Asian companies. And then, kind of where you're going is, maybe there's some questions to be asked about that from the studio perspective as well. You have things like Nintendo, like Iwata taking a pay cut, refusing to lay people off. That culture flowing down through the years and the generations. You have, in the last week we've had, Tim Cook's replacement, named. And again, this is a U.S. centric, but I mean, this is the U.S. versus Asian culture thing. But just in terms of corporate culture, a lot has been written recently about Apple and like the culture of Apple and how that has pervaded, during the Steve Jobs time, and Tim Cook's advice to John Tenyer, which is, you may make the wrong decision or the right decision here and there. Those little micro decisions aren't the big deal. The big deal is hold tight to the notion of the culture, and then everything will work itself out. And that seems to be a much more prevalent thing in Asian companies, where there seems to be, at least in Japan, much more importance put on the workforce and less on the executives. Again, going back to Xbox, we have an entire marketing and PR regime hyper focused on the executives, to the point that last week Kiln came out. And I was kind of flabbergasted because I didn't even realize it. Somebody pointed it out to me. And in the effort to, flood the lanes and the zones with all of this cruft and crap, they completely drown out any attention that would have been paid to Kiln. Where, you might think that maybe you would give some airtime to a studio of yours that is putting out a game that is not their primary bailiwick type of game. Give it some room to breathe, stump, again, what Matt Booty mentioned about, the fact that, I can't remember who he said was helping out was helping out that studio because there was another studio helping them out that had more multiplayer experience. So there's this whole cross-pollination thing. But at any rate, the point is that I think a large part of it is that there is just a radically different work culture in Japan and maybe in other areas of Asia as well, that is just starkly different from the Rockstar executive work culture that happens in the US, and the prevalence that is given to them in terms of like earnings and privileges and things like that. So I think maybe part of it is that you wind up breeding more employee loyalty, and maybe you get a little bit more out of employees over there. But I'm not absolutely certain, but it's definitely, I feel like it's definitely a conversation to be had or a thread to be pulled.
Well, and it started when people realized what Capcom was doing and what Konami was doing. But even with smaller companies, or like what we saw with Black Myth Wukong, or like what we saw with Stellar Blade, like it's crazy that the games that are coming from the East, and this isn't even like oh my God, look how bad Western studios are. Like, it could be, but that's not the point. It's freaking crazy to me that when a game series or something comes out from the East, it seems like it's just been better quality. It's been more gamer focused. It's been more gameplay than wow me with seeing the glistening off the edge of the helmet and the ray trace this and the screen space that and global illumination and RTG and all that. And I know I'm using the same words as initials, but like, you get what I mean. It's like, hey, what do you love about the game? It's a really fun freaking game. Or, hey, what was your favorite part of Stellar Blade? Well, you could see the passion that they put into it. What was your favorite part about Black Myth Wukong? Oh, just the attention to detail and the fighting and the combat system and all. Oh, it was just so great the way they like. It seems like that the Eastern studios, and because I can't even just say Japan, but like the Eastern studios seem to have it figured out. Sans Square Enix. But like, it's pretty crazy when you start to think about how many of the Japanese develop. Like, at one point, I thought Koei Tecmo was going to go out of business because the newest Dynasty Warriors game would hit and it would do nothing. And you never heard people talking about it or people being so crazy about, oh my God, you see Dynasty Warriors 8? Like, nobody cared. There was a time where those games were literally being produced for the people who wanted to play them. And I don't know if they were bringing in any extra fans. So I was expecting Koei Tecmo to actually go out of business at some point. But they have done like a complete hit the gas pedal, go forward at 100 miles an hour, and they seemingly are doing very, very well. So just a little light story, a light, happy story to start the show off with, because really it's kind of all downhill from here. No, I'm kidding. Next good story we have is the PlayStation Plus titles. Now, this, you don't have PlayStation Plus, do you, Logic?
No, I don't.
I didn't think so. So this one is going to be a short, actually, you know what? We'll shelve this for when Faulky gets on to see if he has anything to say about it then. Are you getting Saros?
No, I'm not.
Dang. Don't play games. Ain't doing nothing. Ain't getting Saros. Guys.
I just said I picked up Pragmata.
I'm kidding. I'm messing with you, dude. I'm messing with you.
All right. Saros is not my kind of game. So I'm glad it's a thing that makes other people happy. I'm hoping that it does well. Housemarque is starting. I think they've got a little bit to go, maybe one more iteration, but they're definitely starting to look kind of like the Obsidian of Xbox to me, right? Where I talk about like the sleeper agent pickup and all the acquisitions, right? The really great thing that Xbox got a hold of was Obsidian, who's been a hyper productive team, put out lots of titles. Like there have been years at Xbox where literally like they were being carried on the back of Obsidian. And I think it's just a studio that kind of punches above its belt in terms of, you know, keeping their scope small. Not saying that they've done everything perfect, like they had to do a do-over with Avowed, but you know, keeps the scope small and doesn't like try to do these moonshots like Bethesda does, and therefore doesn't set like unrealistic expectations. I feel like Housemarque is kind of a gem that PlayStation picked up, and one that is kind of skilling up and leveling up as it goes on. I expect Saros to be an even, you know, more beautiful game from a technical implementation perspective than Returnal was.
So with that being said, so what we're going to do then, let's go ahead and talk about Saros, because I really like that thread you pulled a little bit there. And I'm actually going to keep continuing that. So Saros is coming out. It is a continuation of their same style of combat. If you've played any of Housemarque's games, they all have that bullet hell feel, and they all are really, really well done, tight games. You're not going to find anything about them that is flawed in the sense of movement, gameplay, shooting, the way it feels. All of it feels good, all the way from Nex Machina to Resogun to Returnal. Like, they all feel really, really good. The way they handle the bullet screen, or the bullet hell on screen, all of it feels really, really good. The only thing that got me about Returnal was two things. One, it was the punishing nature of spending an hour and not getting any progression at all. I couldn't do that. I did it for a while because I really enjoyed the gameplay. But after so many times of trying and failing, I was done. The thing that needed to change with this one was the progression and the difficulty. And they did both of those things, and they did it in a way where people say, just put in a difficulty system. Well, or difficulty settings. Well, they did to a point, because you can use items to upgrade the difficulty, essentially. So you put on an item and it might give you a debuff, or it might give the enemies a buff or whatnot, and that makes the game harder, letting you kind of curate your own dadgum experience within the game, which I think is pretty cool. But I wanted to hear reviews from people who I know either hated the game, didn't like the game, or whatever originally. Like, they didn't like Returnal, or they're coming back to this in hopes that it's better. Because I wanted those two questions answered. One, is it easier? And two, is the progression as permanent and as frequent as they're advertising? And from all the things I've seen, which is only a few videos and a couple articles, everything is exactly what I wanted. So that's what has me excited. But I want to pull on what you said about kind of where they are as a studio within the ethos of the PlayStation studios. Because what they feel like to me, as you were describing them, I would kind of put them in a sucker punch before Ghost of Tsushima. Like, I think they're right in that moment where that next game that comes out is going to be kind of their Ghost of Tsushima moment, where you're going to get their full maximum final form Frieza during the Namekian saga. Like, he's coming at you in his final, no, not Namekian saga, during the World Championship saga. He's going to be coming at you full gold armor and just giving you everything. I feel like that's about where Housemarque is at, which is a great spot to be for a studio that was purchased the end of last gen, beginning of this gen. Like, that's pretty good. And you've gotten 2 games out of them this generation. That's really good. Hell, your marquee studios, most of them can't say that. And so they're doing really, really good work. What would you say about my comparison to where they are with kind of being on that same sucker punch right before Ghost of Tsushima?
I don't entirely disagree with you. I think for me, in order for them, right, to pierce that veil, right, to confront Vader and truly become a Jedi, they've got to pull. I feel like they have to pull a gorilla.
Okay.
They have to they've done what they've done, and they've proven that they can do that. Now they need to take a moment, make the argument, fight the fight, and get permission to go off and do something that is not Saros and Returnal, right? And do something, not do something like, but have their Horizon Zero Dawn moment that surprises everyone and takes them off guard that this is a thing coming from Returnal. And really, and while I say that, I acknowledge that may be a little unfair. But the more simplistic version of what I'm saying is I feel like they have to do something that expands their palette and
I can
shows
see that
they've got chops beyond, right, that kind of shooter roguelike kind of thing that they've developed.
Who said it's unfair? Hero said it's not unfair.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, well, the reason I say that I can acknowledge why that may seem unfair is because, and Hero's heard me say this, because when I talk about that instance in time of what Guerrilla did, I've also characterized it as like one of the things that almost no studio can do. So I'm a little, I say that I feel like they need that kind of a breakout moment, but I'm also, tempering that by the acknowledgement of that, the one studio that has done it has been one of the very rare instances where that's ever been pulled off.
There's been two.
Studios,
there's been two with Sony specifically. One of them is the one you just mentioned. What the hell? Where'd it go? You just mentioned them. Guerrilla. One has been Guerrilla, and then the other has been Sucker Punch. Like they went from Sly to Infamous, from Infamous to Ghost of Tsushima. Like,
but to me, those are still, and I'm oversimplifying, admittedly, those are still, from a design perspective, those are still third-person action-adventure games with a rotating camera, right? And so many of the design elements, I believe, were still consistent across the fabric of those, of those three.
Okay,
three IPs.
Josh agrees with you. Josh said they are very similar. Yeah, and then Hero and I are on the same track because he just brought up Naughty Dog coming from Crash to Uncharted, which like there's that's a big transition. But I definitely see what you're saying. At the same time, Hero pointed out what I was thinking was like, dang, there's not really another studio that does bullet hell in the manner that Housemarque does. And so, yes, I'd love to see what they could do with something else. Or they could just give us another really cool bullet hell shooter. But I do think that if they do that, it doesn't help them take that next... So, I guess I get what you're saying, because it doesn't help them take that next leap. It's like, it's like Guerrilla. When they release Horizon 3, I'm not going to be super surprised at what I get from them. Because they've already crushed it with Forbidden West, visually, fidelity, ray tracing, the way it all works, PSSR. They've done freaking amazing with Forbidden West. And so when Horizon 3 comes out, it's going to be, oh, okay, cool. It's more of the same. And so I kind of understand what you're saying and where you're coming from.
So I feel what you just said is definitely unfair.
What now? No, wait a minute. They're not reinventing the wheel when they release Horizon 3, are they?
No, but I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just like,
it sounds harsh. It sounds like I'm saying, oh, it's just the same old. But like,
yeah, like your statement, like I definitely would, like I felt like that statement was definitely super applicable to Guerrilla if you're talking about like Killzone 3. Right after like the iterations of of shooters and like trying to be the Halo killer and yada yada, definitely a moment in time where you say, okay, if they put out another Killzone, then like I'm not super impressed. I don't think that you're wrong. I just feel, and this is an emotional feeling, I just feel like we're still like too close to like the start of the franchise to like be applying that. But I get what you're saying. But it's because I feel like Guerrilla is Guerrilla's doing great work. They've done an amazing thing with the Horizon Zero Dawn franchise. And
So
I feel like I'm fine letting them pop that third one out before I start putting the label on them that, you know, they're just doing the same thing.
So, and this also brings up another point. When a studio has made a crap ton of money for you and done extremely well with an IP, even if, and I don't know, I haven't looked this up. This is just off the top of my head because I used to be a big movie guy. And a lot of the questions came on trilogies. Why would a studio let a company make a trilogy or make part 3 to a movie series where the second one did not do as gangbuster numbers as the first one? And I'll tell you why. And it's because the director and the actors and the writers and the people who put that movie together have earned enough credit in that studio within that filmmaking company to go, hey, listen, we still want to make this third movie. And they look at you and go, you know what? For anybody else, we'd tell them to pound sand. But because it's you, go ahead, make it. And the movie usually comes out as the third part of a trilogy. It doesn't do very well. And then they shelve the IP, which was going to be what would happen anyways. So when you have a company like a Guerrilla, even if Horizon 2 did not sell like the most amazing gangbuster numbers, and I think the game still sold well. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm using this as part of the bigger analogy. You would still see them have the opportunity to make the third and close out the story. They would still give them that. It's the same way that Square Enix is still giving Rebirth its trilogy, even though Rebirth did not sell well, nearly as well as the first one. But who's going to look at that studio at Square Enix and go, no, y'all can't make the third one? Like, that's just not what's going to happen. And so I do think that certain studios do have a longer leash when it comes to that. And so I think that's what we get to see. And so Housemarque is getting that, I think, with the success that this is going to have. Because like I said, people are rating it very high. Take those for what you will. The reviews are very positive on it. I think they have a long enough leash now to where they're going to be able to do kind of whatever they want. I think they will have the full option to say, hey, we actually want to try something completely different, or we want to stick with more of the same, but we want to present it a bit differently. Like, I think that's what's going to happen. Housemarque has seemingly proven themselves. Yeah, look at Naughty Dog's leash. They are like, they're like 3 studios of people and need to make a game at all. Hey, listen, all I can say is Last of Us TV, the Last of Us TV show must have brought in a killer amount of money, because that's about the only reason I can think that Naughty Dog is still open. They are banking off of credit from Last of Us 1 and Last of Us Part 2. That's what they're doing right now. Were you going to say something, Logic?
No, I was going to agree with you. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, look, all indications and warnings are that Saros is a great game. I totally agree with you that, you know, when they get done, you know, with this, was there DLC for Returnal?
I don't think there was DLC, like paid DLC, but there was a tower mode that was added and multiplayer was added.
Okay, so they've probably got a little runway to, you know, do a couple extra things, you know, with
Oh, hey, Falky.
With Saros, and then, you know, they'll be spooling up to pitch whatever their next thing is. And I completely agree with you. I'm sure that they've earned enough, you know, clout, credit, and trust with the Greenlight board at SIE to, you know, pitch either, you know, the next iteration of a Saros Returnal type of thing, or to say, you know, hey, this is our Guerrilla moment, and we want to branch out, you know, and do something different. I mean, either way, I'm looking forward to. Like I said, Saros and Returnal aren't my type of games. I think I gave some thought to playing Saros, so, you know, that may rear its head again. But But either way, I think Housemarque is an exciting studio. I'm excited to, I'm always excited to see, what they've got cooking and to see what they're doing next after Saros.
Oh man, yeah, that's. I like how you said that with a question mark. It's not for me, maybe.
Well, because there was a point where I was because I've read some of the design literature about Saros and how they've iterated the design from Returnal, and I've thought there was a point where I thought, maybe it's leaning a little back more into my wheelhouse where I could get my teeth around it, but but we'll see how it goes.
Falky, if you are trying to talk, we cannot hear you at all.
No, I wasn't trying to talk. I was trying to get my damn headphones to work.
Oh. How are you, sir?
Busy but good. But good. How are you going?
Not too bad. Not too bad. You missed the fluff section of the night, and we're into our topic. So that's great. You got here for the good stuff. Are you playing Saros at all?
When did it release, mate?
Tomorrow. Oh, never mind. Never mind. I'll ask you in a few months. Never mind. I know better. I'm sorry.
You get one. That was the one.
I did walk. So what's really funny is I've already had one for Logic and one for you now, because I was going to ask Logic what he thought about the PS Plus titles, but he doesn't have PS Plus. So, and I remembered that as I was about to ask him about it. So
it's the PS Plus titles is an interesting one. FC 26 coming in a bit early. And we got Madden 26 last month or the month before it wasn't the premium, it was in the base.
It was an extra. It was an extra.
Yeah. So
it was an essential. I thought.
Yeah. So either it's coming, like they're getting shorter on those releases to try and EA's trying to bump the engagement up and chase that, the services revenue piece, or they're just not got the legs on them like they used to. I remember FC 25 paled off really quickly in its sales. But I think when's college football releasing? I think they split the release dates for college football
July?
and Madden finally. So
I think it's June or July.
Trying to get,
and then the other one's in August or September.
Yeah. I'm not complaining. I don't really play FC. My son's starting to get into that stuff, but he's more of a he doesn't really like sports titles. He prefers more adventure. He's on a horror. Starting to get into the horror genres a bit at the moment. The jump scare ones, not the gory ones, because he's only 14. But the other two, they were on my wish list of wait till they go on sale real cheap, and which is great now because I don't have to buy them.
Yeah.
And the Nine Souls was Shuhei's game of the year last year, so.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting Wu Chang Fallen Feathers being in there after we just got news a couple days ago that the IP has been sold. So I thought that was pretty interesting. FC, the Madden thing was interesting because that's the first time a Madden football game has been inside the subscription service ever. That was big for that. And it shows that this is what we pointed out, I think 2 months ago. It really shows that those numbers where it talks about how multiplayer games are actually like on the decline and single player titles are getting a small uptick. You're kind of starting to see the outplaying of that, where these companies are putting their games into sub-services to increase, like you said, that monthly player count, that monthly player base. Because if they can get you in, they can start to monetize you. The problem is that unless you're just a what is it, a ball and gun, the ball and shoot, whatever the hell it's called, gamer, you're not usually getting these titles every single year. Like, for me, I get a new Madden title like once every 4 years. I get a new MLB The Show title about once every 5 years. Because they don't usually update the graphics very much, and so it's just a roster update, and I already own the previous version, so I can just play those, if that makes any sense. Now, if MLB The Show came out and like utilized the actual power of the PS5 within their graphics and stuff, then I'd probably get it. But outside of that, it looks like 2019, and I already own 2019, so I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not.
It's no dissimilar to. And look, the sports games are big because they pull on it, but it's the same with the PGA game, or the 2K ones, the PGA golf, the NBA, and you can see they're starting like with the announcement today about the different NBA offshoot. Let's call them the spin-off games, and get back into those.
NBA on the run, I think, or NBA on run or whatever.
Oh, remember NBA Street, the 3-on-3 stuff,
Yes.
and the insane fun you could have with that, like the alley-oop from downtown, and this big finishing moves, like just over glorifying it. I love that. That was mad fun. Anyway, beside the point, they're starting to branch out in these sort of spin-off pieces, but even those titles are, they're just, most of the time they're a roster update, and every second or third iteration they are then there's a mechanic change, or there's some change in it. And FC 26 has got a sizable change in it. I don't think Madden 26 did. I know Logic likes to play Formula 1. And there's been some updates that caused some controversy, in inverted commas, he says, within the parrots and the parasites on Twitter and social media around, is this good, is this bad, will it, won't it, console war bullshit. But I was quite fascinated that they are actually trying to develop that technology for games that are annual releases, because that's quite a sizable cost impact. Then it comes back to that roster update. Do you sell the base game and then sell the roster updates as DLC for your annual pieces to reduce your cost of development, and then you can volume based monetization, or do you produce a new game every year? And they've got the same issue with all the major sports titles that are annual releases. Call of Duty's got that issue. You can see it with a lot of the other games which used to be annual or biannual releases. The cost of doing these things so frequently is starting to explode to a point of, what am I actually getting for it? And the end user is going, well, why do I get the new one? You could make so much money in a different model of having a base unit, which you then in the background only spend 4 or 5 years updating for the gameplay mechanic, and you just keep doing the roster update a couple of times a year, or transfer windows, or whatever it is. But anyway, I'm prattling on, but yeah. I don't know. It makes sense. Get them out there into the subscription services, and people pick them up, and then they're just, we've got them on the hook for a minute. Like, we're getting something for putting them in there, and then we can monetize them ongoing because the tail dropped off. And you can see some of the numbers that come back. People that otherwise wouldn't pay full price to buy them, all of a sudden they're in there and they get hooked, and they will spend a little bit of money in it. Something's better than nothing.
It's so true. That's the freaking... It is the sunk cost fallacy like nobody's business. I didn't pay anything to play this game, is what our brains tell us. So I can spend $20 that I would have spent to buy the game, when I know damn good and well I had no intention of buying the game. But hell, now that I have it, I don't do that. But that is the sunk cost fallacy. Like, I have a problem buying anything as a add-on for a game that is part of a subservice that I don't own. So I have a huge... It's like when folks were getting Starfield on Game Pass and then paying the $35 extra to get the DLC, the Season Pass, and the Early Access. And I'm like, so wait, but if you don't pay for your subservice, you can't access the game. Therefore, the DLC you just bought is pointless.
Hey, well, supposedly in the last 2 weeks, people are using that $84 a month, a year that they're saving on the Game Pass price reduction to rebuy Xbox Series X's that they supposedly sold.
Jesus.
It'll only take them 8 years to make up the ROI to justify and rationalize the cost. But hey, it's all for the fandom.
It's for the children. It's all for the fandom. That's
I'm going to go on a mini rant.
I'm about to say, I didn't pull that thread. I'll let y'all have that one. Go ahead.
I know.
Falky.
I know whether he did it on purpose or not. He knew I was going to respond to this. For the life of me, I cannot figure out why someone would be making a decision that amount of cost input on a future maybe to action something now that they can't do. What does it matter now? Like everyone went, Xbox has abandoned it, so I'm going to sell it all. And we're throwing all the hands in the air, and we're selling this, and we're getting out of it because they're not supporting. It's like, cool. What are you going to do with all the games that you have had, or how are you going to access your catalog, or what, all right, it's clearly you're not interested in playing in that. That's fine. So that's a personal decision. It's great. And then it's like, everybody who sold them's buying them back, and they're getting back into it. So off what? What are they doing now that's tangible that was different when they sold it? You're saying that they're buying these things based on a promise and a whim. The last decade, you've been getting that kind of crap from the previous leadership, and you're getting the same stuff regurgitated with a different bus driver now, and you're buying the same Kool-Aid again. Come on, guys. What's the tangible impact now that has made them change their mind that's different from then? And all it is a promise. A promise that something's going to change. And they keep buying that promise every time someone leans over and whispers in their ear that good things are going to happen while they reach into their pocket, and it's not going to be the good thing that they want. But just for life of me, it's so stupid. It's the word asinine is what I want to use, but it's not strong enough.
I mean, Asha has an X on her chest, man. Like, that's the thing. Like, she takes off that business suit and she becomes Xbox woman. And, like, she's going to save the day now. Did you hear she's bringing back exclusives?
Oh, don't get me fucking started.
In the same week, in the same 10-day period where we just found out that 14, count them, 14, I think it was 14, 13 or 14 Xbox titles have sold over 100,000 copies on the PlayStation now. And now this is from Alina, so Lord Jesus, that's why I'm not giving any hard numbers past that generic umbrella that I just said. But like, because they can't be trusted as far as I can throw Falky, and he lives in Australia, so that's not happening. But like, they're not bringing back exclusives. They are making way too much freaking money on PlayStation to bring back exclusives. And honestly, if people still want Xbox to be around, it's good that their games are on PlayStation. I wish we could get back to the moment where Xbox and PlayStation had a battle going on, because one, it made for better television, but two, it also made for a better product, in my opinion. I feel like we had better competition leads to better innovation. And right now, I don't see much competition. We already know they don't view Nintendo as competition. We know that they don't really view PC as competition. The only people that were competition for them were really Xbox. And, well, now we get their games on PlayStation, so there goes that. There's no more competition. And so I want to see that come back. But looking at the numbers, I don't ever see that coming back. I just don't. Like, and if people think that it is and that Asha is gonna come out looking like Supergirl, like, that's not gonna happen. She's not Captain Save-A-Ho. She's not coming in to save the industry. She's not coming in to save Xbox. She is coming in to offer you something that you should never give a person without the intention of following through. And that's hope. Like, when I sold cars, the one thing they told us was never, ever, ever give any hope for gain. Ever. Because you don't want people to think that there's still something else that they can fight for. And so she's coming in, and that's what she's doing. She's giving what's called hope for gain. Hey, listen, guys, hear what Matt Booty's saying. Hear what Gandalf is saying. Like, everything is going to be working out great for us here look, we're going to be revisiting everything. We're going to be, oh my God, thank goodness we're revisiting this. So now all the decisions that we had to say we loved under Phil Spencer that we actually hated, now we can get those things reversed, and it's going to be great. Even though we said for years that we loved him, we really hated him. And now Asha is listening to us, and she's learning, like the past two assholes in that seat were learning. And it's the same fucking talking points. That's what, it's the same rhetoric. It's still Jason Ronald out here going, I think the issue is isolated to just a few people, and I think it's going to be short-lived. Like, you don't know anything. You don't. And all y'all are doing is regurgitating the same crap. And it's
so funny.
Sorry, it's very irritating. And I have been the one in this corner going, you know what, man? She is saying all of the right things. She's saying all of the, and then the numbers come out, and I'm like, yeah, no, never mind. They're not. They're not taking exclusives away, or they're not.
Oh, they no. No way.
Well, even if the numbers are a third off, they still had 4 games sell over 1 million copies on PlayStation. Like, they're not yanking it. So, anyways, that wasn't even on the topic for tonight, guys. That was thanks to logic right there.
So, Falky, I agree with like your decomp there, but like that's also why I think those are lies and fabrications, because I don't believe, while there are a handful of crazies that I can probably count on both hands, I don't believe that any rational consumer would sell a device and then, on the hope of a $7 price reduction in a subscription service, which inherently requires them to subscribe to it and pay into it every month, that would warrant them going out and paying to rebuy that device at now an increased cost, where it is now more expensive than what they initially bought it for and more expensive than what they sold it for. So, but yeah.
Stupid, isn't it?
Yeah. It's if they did that, it would be stupid. I think it's so stupid that tells me that that's just a complete fabrication and a lie. The people who are asserting that either I think one guy has already been debunked for, because his photo that he used was backtracked to something he took from eBay. And then I think, the so-called journalist who claimed that he's been getting DMs that people have repurchased Xboxes. I think those things are fabricated.
What the fuck?
But we'll see. Next, their next quarter is the end of their fiscal year, and Amy Hood provided guidance that they expect to be down on
everything
services again next quarter. So,
oh, what was it? There was something that came out today that somebody posted. Hang on, let me find it real quick, because it was like showing that Xbox was down in every category. All the categories that matter.
They're down in content and services. They're down in hardware. And they are down. I forget what the third. They're down third? Overall in revenue.
Yeah, where was it? Oh, there it is. Yeah, Tom Warren. Josh Ayers posted this at 4:06. See, guys, this is why you should be in the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, hit the link below and join the Discord. All we ask is that you don't be a douche canoe. That's it. It's pretty simple.
That's it.
It's just, don't be a jerk. We're all just gamers, and this is not serious enough to take a paper cut. It's fun. It's supposed to be fun. But here's what Tom Warren said. Let me pull this over on the big screen for y'all, because I thought this was interesting. So remember, hang on, let me set this up. Exclusives are coming back. They're going to get back into the console race. She's going to tell PlayStation to piss off. They are going to be more player focused. They're rebranding from Microsoft Gaming back to We Are Xbox. Bum. Like, we are here in this moment. Now, here's what this gets us. Windows OEM devices revenue down 2%. Gaming revenue down 7%. Xbox content and services down 5%. Xbox hardware down 33%. I think last time we saw this number, it was down 46%. Like, I don't know how much more of a half of a half of a half of a half you can go before they're selling, like, what, one console a month? Like, I know it's not that low, but Lord Jesus, if you're selling 4 million, 5 million a year, and then you're down 46%, that tells me you're now selling about 2.5 million a year. Well, then the next year you're down another 46%. That tells me you're selling about 1.6 or 1.25 a year. Then you're down another 33%. Well, shit, now you're selling what, below 1 million consoles a year? Like, eventually, continually losing on that revenue number, that's not good. That's not what you want to see. Go ahead, Falky. Sorry.
They're down for the 9 months year to date. To the end of March, they're down 1.1 billion compared to the same period last year.
Holy shit. That's...
And for the 12 months to when we get to June 2026, they'll potentially be 1.5 billion or worse, down compared to the same 12 months prior year on revenue, which at June 2025, they were, what, $1 and a bit billion less than the year before. So what's that, 3 years after ABK has cleared and they're fully integrated for a full 12 months, they're combined 2-point-something billion down compared to the starting point.
Well, are you...
Now, remind me who said that, and there's more than just one, but there were a number of people who said this is not going to work. And at some point, this reduction in cash flow is going to end with an impairment. It has to.
Yeah, did you take, in those numbers, did you take the, 1.2, 1.3 billion or so off that they wrote down straight out of profit after the acquisition due to the...
No.
So you add that in there.
No. And then, so the first 12 months afterwards, they had, and that there's the $2 billion worth of losses after they did the first 12 months that they did the amalgamation, where they were telling us what the net impact of the acquisition was, because they were having to do the eliminations between for revenue and expenditure, but the costs of the acquisition was being written in as well. So there's, what's that, $5 billion over 4 years lost out of that deal. Ingrained losses. These aren't one-offs. This is ingrained. So at some point, just before the acquisition, ABK was doing $7.5 or $8 billion in revenue a year. And we've now, over the last couple of years, they will have reduced the revenue gain by more than, and this is on after you take into account the elimination for, ABK selling, ABK revenue that was coming from Xbox. You're in that zone of, well, what are we doing here? Like, this is clearly not working. And just to tie it all back into what you're saying before, they stand up and they thump their chest and they promise this, they promise that, and all the rest of it. And then they go and do the price reduction on Game Pass. And they say, this is a win for everyone. Oh, but by the way, you're not getting this, this, and this, which has been horribly reported on again as well. Like, they've reduced the price because no one was buying it. Not because they're trying to do something nice. Remember when they hiked the price right up and they said you're going to get 70 new games and Call of Duty's going to be there day and date, but it's not in the base one, it's in the next one up. And we're going to put all these new games in there and all the rest of it and all these AAA games and you get play here first, blah, blah. When was the last time a third-party AAA game launched on day and date in Game Pass? Anyone tell me that one? You're scratching your brain pretty hard.
Yeah, I don't really know what the most recent big title was.
The last big title that went into Game Pass was Metaphor Fantasio.
Well,
but that wasn't a day one.
Expedition 33.
Expedition 33 was, but that one wasn't considered a AAA game at the time.
That
was an unknown indie.
That's true. It was an unknown chance title.
Yeah. The last big one that had hype going around it that went into Game Pass on day one was Outriders.
I don't even know if... okay. Yeah. Sure. God.
So... And I said at the time when they went, oh, we're going to jack the price up, we're going to do this, I remember looking at it going, what 70 games are they going to get? Because their first party can't sustain that, so they've got to do third party. It's going to be all indies and double A's at best. and they can't even sustain that. So they've had to reverse course because otherwise they would have been called out for lying about it because they're nearly up to 12 months since they did it. And what have they got to show? It's a change in course, and everyone goes, "Oh, they're the only ones who are reducing price." Blah blah. Yet they had to because no one was buying it. They're definitely not doing the $1 deal again because that stung them so hard.
Oh my
They had to go out and buy ABK to recover from it.
I'm gonna give y'all some more talking points here because y'all know I don't do X very much, the drug or the website. Both for the same reason. They turned me into somebody I don't ever want to be. And so,
Would it be improper for me to say the phrase X gonna give it to you?
hey, listen. So here's part of the problem, okay? And we're gonna see it from two separate angles. And I have done a very good job, in my opinion, of trying to toe the line between Xbox hater and just approaching it in a nuanced way, as unbiased as I can be. I was actually for Asha getting in. I was happy that Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond got gone. I thought that was a great move. Not necessarily who they brought in, but just that those two people left. I thought that was genius. But here's the problem. They brought somebody in, and she's using the exact same playbook and rhetoric that the previous quote-unquote coach was using, and it didn't work for them. Why do you think it's going to work for you? And I'll tell you why. So, Cosmic Hero in the Discord just put this. Let me pull it up real quick. It's from James Act. It's a post on X. Whatever we feel about James, I don't care. But he posted Asha's comment about the earnings call from today. She said, Xbox earnings today. While we have made progress expanding the business and our margins, player and revenue growth has not yet met our ambition. We know we have work to do to earn every player today and in the future. That line right here, we know we have work to do, that is ingrained in me from a Phil Spencer interview where they asked him what they were going to do about their first party offerings and getting games out that were complete, and he goes, I mean, we have work to do in that area. It's not been the greatest, blah blah blah. Like, that is all that's ingrained in me whenever she talks. It just feels like she's a new Phil Spencer. Like, she's a female Phil, and whenever she talks, that's what it feels like. Just wait, just trust us. I'm learning. We need to work on this. We need to try to earn your... Like, it's all the same jack-off bull stuff that was there under him. I do know why. I'm gonna get to that. It's because of this right here. On that post from Tom Warren, if you scroll down in the comments just a little bit, one, it's funny, get a good chuckle. But two, it's because of people like this. Satya's approach hurt the brand and confused consumers. The new Xbox CEO's approach should turn this around. I don't know this person from Adam. I've never seen him. Now, the name is Clever Colt 64, so it makes me wonder if he's of the same cloth as Mr. Eastwood. Yeah. But, and it's because of the fan base like this that think every glimmer, every single thing that you tell them, they latch onto with the same vigor and fervor of Jack latching onto the freaking door at the end of Titanic. Like, they are holding on to that damn thing for dear life, begging that dang woman to scoot over just a bit so they can fit. And no, she's just going to let you drown.
Yep.
I firmly believe that part of what's going on is, while we see all the churn that happened in the executive team, what I firmly believe, and maybe I've talked myself into this and convinced myself of it, that the PR team, right, and the speechwriters and the social media team, right, and their handlers basically, because we've heard right that Sarah Bond had a team of people who were going around posting her stuff on LinkedIn, posting her stuff. So I think that I think that regime of people is still all being led by the same person. because like just like you said, the rhetoric is literally the same.
It's scary.
And this is the crazy thing about this post today. Like, you know, she talked about how she's been in the seat for 60 days. I don't know that I have ever seen, and I'm somebody who like studies the tech industry and looks at CEOs and looks at, like, I can't remember that I've ever seen a CEO takeover and 60 days of complete vapid nothingness coming out. Like, but lots of noise and lots of fanfare being made about what they're putting out. But then like decomposing and parsing it and saying and going, wait a second, this actually says nothing. So like looking at the GDC Project Helix announcement, it says nothing. It conveys zero information to a developer that tells them anything that they should be doing to prep for the next generation of hardware coming from Xbox. Like absolutely no useful, consumable, actionable technical information.
Nope.
Then the memo that comes out, and I'm like looking at this memo, and I quote tweeted Jeff Keighley. Jeff Keighley was like, "Oh, this is their new strategy," and I was like, "Time out, time out, Jeff. This is not a strategy document. This is a vision document. This says what we want to be. It doesn't say how we're going about doing it." In
the words of Jerry Maguire, this is a memo, not a mission.
Yeah.
This is a mission statement, not a memo.
Right.
A mission statement, the future of our company type of thing.
It's like return the Gen 9 hardware to stability. Like, what the hell does that mean? How is it, I mean, define how it's unstable. I mean, I think it's unstable. I know how I define it, but like, I need to hear from you. How is it unstable? And then how are you going to return it? Because you're not going to cut prices on the current Gen 9 hardware. Like, so you're not going to roll out new features and capabilities to it, not new technical capabilities. You may gloss over it with a UI, right? And this comes from somebody who works in software development who feels like all, you know, not all, but I have a very disdainful view of UI work. I feel like a ton of noise gets made about it when it doesn't actually mean anything because the software underneath it like hasn't improved. So don't put lipstick on a pig and tell me that you've improved it when like the business logic layer and your back end is still all dorked up. Anyway, so then we come to the statement today, right? So like again, GDC presentation actually meant nothing. The memo from last week actually meant nothing. And I'm like, these guys are 5 weeks away now. Maybe they're still 6, but I think 5 weeks away from arguably the biggest summer showcase in the existence of Xbox. And I'm like, I think me personally at this point, I think my head would be down, right? And I would be trying to figure out and know that everything for that showcase is super well oiled, super well presentable. I'd be personally reviewing all the collateral and material that's going to go up for that showcase, so I don't get surprised by anything. Because the guy she chose as her number 2 person was the guy who let the original Halo trailer out of the bag and resulted in the Craig meme, which still goes around to this day. So then we come to this statement today, right? And this is a one. I'm glad you brought this up because this is one I really wanted to dig into. Xbox earnings today. Fuck, he stepped away. I wanted him to hear this. So Xbox earnings today. While we have made progress expanding the business and our margins, player and revenue growth has not yet met our ambition. Please explain to me how those 2 segments of that sentence are not in complete opposition to each other. How have you expanded the business while concurrently failing to meet your player growth objective?
So hang on. Let me provide Asha translation here. So I got you. Let me provide some Asha translation. This is my favorite part about reading people's tweets and going, you're full of shit. I'm going to break this down. What she is saying is, hey, we've expanded a bit. We had higher goals. We did not hit those goals. We failed.
So, but what I'm pulling apart is how have you expanded the business? Your player numbers.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
You haven't reported more MAU. Also notice that during this earnings report, for the last several earnings report, they've stopped reporting MAU.
The thing that was so important to them. Yes.
Right. So also notice that they didn't report Game Pass subscriber numbers. So again, I look at the sentence and you say, I expanded the business. How have you expanded the business? Your player numbers aren't up. Your MAU's not up. Your Game Pass subscriptions aren't up. How are you telling me that you've expanded the business, but you haven't met player growth? And then how have you expanded? How have you improved your margins? Which I don't believe for a second that their margins have improved. How have you improved your margins and haven't concurrently grown revenue growth? Now, yes, absolutely. I get that, it's possible to grow revenue and reduce your margins. It's possible to grow revenue and increase your margins and vice versa. But I'm like, how are you coming? In fact, how are you coming out of your mouth saying that you've improved your margins when all of your numbers that you presented during the earnings call are negative?
Yes, like yes,
and I get those are all revenue numbers. But like, unless you're deliberately choosing to paint a deliberately bad picture in its entirety of Xbox and not show one good thing about Xbox, if your business has expanded and your margins have improved, I would think that you would put those positive notes in your earnings call.
Sure.
So that it's not all doom and gloom. So this statement that you wrote is just completely duplicitous, completely in opposition to each other. She says one thing in one segment of the sentence and then says, in my opinion, the exact opposite the next. And I'm like, again, this is clearly not only one of your handlers and somebody on your social media team. This is like a junior person who you just hired. This is like an intern wrote this tweet.
Yeah, and people in the comments are actually like just ripping her apart. So somebody said, so this is what she'll do every time instead of making Xbox not suck. Somebody else said she thinks she's being hip. Somebody else just said this is creepy. Like, because it really is like, how are you going to, the thing that baffles me is what I mentioned earlier. How are you going to come in? The head coach and his assistant head coach just got fired from the team. Just got resigned, let go, whatever, voluntold to leave. I don't care what you want to say. They're no longer with the damn company. You come in and they're like, hey, listen, our numbers are down, revenue's down, morale's down, everything's down. You're inheriting this problem and we would like you to try to steer the ship. We'll give you all the resources you need. We'll try to help you as best we can, but we want you to try to steer the ship. Awesome. Thank you, sir. And you go in and on your desk is the previous coach's playbook that didn't work, led to failures, led to your opponents kicking your rear end for the better part of a decade. And now you're sitting there going and looking at it as the new head coach, so to speak, looking at this playbook going, dang, you know what? Instead of throwing this in the garbage can and lighting it on fire and running it over with a Mack truck, I know I'll use the same damn thing that they did and I'll say all the same stuff and I'm going to get different results because reasons. Like, it's completely asinine. It's one of my favorite words to use to describe the whole damn past decade with Xbox is just asinine. And yes, Sony screws up every once in a while. I'm not going to say they're perfect at all, because they're not. But this crap right here is absolutely ridiculous. This type of a comment when all your earnings call did was post nothing but L's, and you have people in other posts and in other comments going, well, yeah, well, what the hell's her name? Oh, shit, Amy Hood. Well, Amy Hood said that it was going to be a down year. It was going to be single digit this, single digit that. And actually, they did pretty good because they're on the low end of those predictions. So they actually did a little bit better than what they thought they would do. So they did bad, but they did the best bad they could do. Do you hear what people are championing? That's stupid. That's literal brain rot. Let me give you a scenario. I'm a huge Cowboys fan. Couldn't watch a single game last year after the first one because they suck so bad. But I'm a huge Cowboys fan. The year that they got beat in the playoffs by the Green Bay Packers, Dez Bryant made the catch. They called it a not catch on the field. They missed continuing to go to the NFC Championship. The Packers ended up going to the Super Bowl. And as a Cowboys fan, we find any single reason to hold on to anything hopeful. And I mean anything. They sign a new player. Jerry Jones gets admitted to the hospital, like anything, any sign of hope that the team's going to turn around, we get excited. And so I remember telling somebody, I was like, well, you know, at least the team that they got beat by made it to the Super Bowl. And I'll never forget, the guy looked at me and goes, that's a loser mentality. Just because they made it to the Super Bowl doesn't mean anything about your team. Your team didn't do shit. And that's what this reminds me of. It's like, well, guys, you know, I mean, they told us that it was going to be bad, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been. It's still bad, you moron. It's still not good. This is still not turning the ship around. Faulky, have you been hearing all of this?
I just heard you call someone a moron.
Okay. I didn't know if you had been hearing, and not yet, no DRM talk. We are getting there because, funny enough, the DRM talk actually does play into this a little bit, because we have two aspects of DRM that have been in the news this week. One from the Xbox side, pointing out the stuff that went on with PlayStation and all of that. And then one on the Xbox side, which is being championed by the people on the PlayStation side, going, well, yeah, at least our DRM was a misunderstanding. Y'all's DRM is stopping you from playing. Like, it's a little tit for tat thing. So we're going to try to discuss them in an actual, like, you know, civilized manner. And yes, we do have two situations of DRM issues. The first one is this one right here. It is the PlayStation version of it, where whoops, wrong one. PlayStation, here we go. Let's do this.
Would you shoot that, would you?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, so PlayStation users report new online license checks. So I'm going to stop right there because that's what everybody else in the world did 2 days ago. They read that and then stopped. Oh my God. So did I. I'm not going to act like I didn't. We got records in the Discord of me going, this is bullshit. I don't agree with this. I don't like this. It's dumb. And the way I presented it was, listen, if I purchase a game digitally, I log in, I play it, I have fun, play 10 hours of it, boom, for whatever reason or another, I'm on the road for 30 days, 45 days. I go back, no internet on the road, I plug it into a TV at Roach Motel number 37, plug it into a TV, try to play that game, and it's going to say no. That's the way it was presented to me. And that's the way it was understood when this news first came out. Come to find out, if that was actually what was happening, that's terrible, that's wrong, and F you, Sony. Because I don't like the principle, but I don't like the premise behind that. Screw the fact that I have not been without internet for over a decade. It's the premise behind what that means that bothered me. Fun fact, moving forward, now we have PlayStation who's actually come out and said something. I cannot tell you how many folks in the Discord were upset, frustrated, and then ended their frustration each time with, well, you know, let's wait for some more information to come out. Because we're not complete morons. Yes, we get rage baited, just like everybody else does. Yes, there's a bit of sensationalism that goes on with it. I love having Logic in the chat because he'll come in and just drop a little bit of a truth bomb and go, hey guys, calm down. It's okay. And as you're reading... I
want to calm down.
I don't want to calm down. I want to be angry. Leave me alone. And so here's what actually is going on. Okay? This is the first DRM issue for PlayStation. A new quirk, that was funny to me that they just resolved it down to a quirk. Like, right off the bat, I was like, that's very brave, just like sweeping this shit under the rug. The little quirk happened. Okay. Began affecting PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 owners with the digital game purchases. It appears the system's latest update have introduced a 30-day online license check for digital games, leaving those who have extended internet outages without access to certain games. However, Sony has clarified exactly how it works, and most players have nothing to worry about. So, Sony has actually clarified how this works, okay? This is not some jackass on an AI server saying, hey, help me, PlayStation AI, and PlayStation AI is saying, yes, there is a 30-day check-in period. Awesome, boom, there's our proof. They're big bad Sony. This is actually from Sony. Several users, including the Game Accessibility Twitter account Does It Play, have reported that all new PlayStation Store purchases, those made before March 2026, appear to be unaffected. But they feature appear to be unaffected feature a 30-day timer that shows you will need to connect to the internet again before losing access. This timer doesn't appear visible on the PS5, but according to Does It Play, it's still being tracked in the background. Okay, so this was the thing that blew everything up. Okay, potential major DRM issue rolled out by PlayStation. That was what, and Xbox as well, allegedly. All new PSN purchases now have a 30-day validation countdown, already investigating to find out more details. People didn't read this last line right here and just read the first part. And that was it. That's all they did. And it grew like wildfire because, in the words of Denzel Washington, when it comes to journalism, it no longer matters if you're right, it matters if you're first. It's one of my favorite red carpet interviews that man has done, where they asked him a question and he was like, I mean, that's for you to report on. But you have a responsibility as a reporter. I've played the clip on here before. You have a responsibility as a journalist, not to be first, but to be right. But nowadays, all y'all care about is being first. No longer cares if it's true or not. Just print it, just run it, just get the story out. And that's exactly what happened. So while unlikely to be a tangible issue for most players, there are definitely use cases that could see a PS4, PS5 disconnected from the internet for extended periods of time. According to a statement Does It Play gave to Kotaku, the license checks may have been introduced to combat refund scams, but were designed to convert into unlimited licenses afterwards. That appears to be the case with an SIE spokesperson telling GameSpot the following. An SIE spokesperson, a Sony spokesperson. This is not some AI-driven help assist desk. This is an actual spokesperson. Players can continue to access and play purchased games as usual. A one-time online check-in is required to confirm the game's license, after which no further check-ins are required. Boom, shut the door, shut the fuck up, and move on with your life. That's done. So, you purchase a game digitally, meaning you already had access to the internet. You download the game. Once you download it, as long as you log into that game one time, it's done. Ta-da. It's fixed. So, we want to talk about DRM issues. We want to talk about PlayStation's anti-consumer. We want to talk about how they're controlling your digital library now. Or do we want to talk about the sensationalism of media gaming journalists and sensationalism of the gamer?
Pretty loosely.
Which
I think
part?
using the term journalist is being a bit fast and loose with the truth there, mate.
I'm sorry. They still call themselves journalists. Like, just being respectful and calling them what they call themselves. That's...
Oh, yeah. They're being a bit fast and loose with that term as well, aren't they? Isn't it one of the main... I'm not sure if you touched on it. The SIE was saying that part of this was to try and close a loophole with their digital returns, a gap in the digital returns. If you get the game, return the game, correct me if I'm misunderstanding what I read from them. So you could buy a game digitally, download it. You buy a game digitally, as long as you don't download it, you could then return it and get your money back. But because of some quirk, you could then have it downloading or downloaded it and then still be able to play it for a period of time.
Yes. So,
and this is part of fixing that issue, which anyway, that was one of the quirks to it. Like, well, if you found that loophole and people are exploiting it, fair enough. But you buy a game digitally, and everyone prattles on about DRM being the worst thing on the planet and blah blah. It's like, if we want to get into that aspect of it, it's, you know, you don't actually own what you think you own. It's like, well, that one's been flogged to death. If you buy it digitally, there's all these other more pressing issues around ownership and access and who can do what. That if they just say you got to check in to make sure that things are going all right, fucking whatever. There's worse things to be worried about. There's more important things to be worried about than having to hook in and check in and to be able to access it. They're not taking it away from you. They're just saying you check in after 30 days and make sure your license is still current and off you go.
But that's
These
not
are the
even
same
what they're
people
doing.
who happily pay for overpriced subscription for streaming services and never query that, and they do this every fucking day. Sorry, pardon my French.
No, you're fine. That once again, I put this in the Discord when I was talking to Cosmic about this. It's not that the issue would ever have affected me, even if it was the 30-day license renewal. I don't like that. And so to future-proof me, I was going to swap over to just physical media from going forward for gaming. And I'm not kidding. I literally was going to, because I don't like the idea of one day if the internet power or the internet grid just goes kaput, belly up, because of, some idiot leader, mine or somebody else's, decides to screw up really royally and we lose internet. I don't want to lose access to my fun games. But that's not actually what's happening. But even if that was, that is a scenario that is very unlikely to happen. Therefore, it doesn't actually bother me on that level. The premise behind it, of them being able to just the problem is, and the reason why this caught wildfire is because this is something that they could implement if they wanted to. They could implement a 30-day check-in ongoing that requires you to check in every 30 days at least to keep your digital licenses. They could do that. And the premise behind that is literally you will own nothing and you will like it. And I don't like that, even though, and Nate pointed this out, and it's true, but I don't like thinking about it. You already technically don't own jack shit when it comes to media anyways.
And you haven't since 1972.
For years, right? Like it's
even when you buy physical media, you don't own the game.
Correct. That's part of this conversation as well that I think people are missing. And that's why, like I said, guys, I am so thankful to have so many different voices within the Discord, because we had the sensationalism from me and from a couple others in the Discord, but then we had the voice of reasons coming in Logic and Innate, who were like, hey guys, listen, here's the hard facts of the matter. It's always been there. It's always going to be there. And it's really not that big of a deal. And like, it really helps when you can have those conversations and have a space to be able to be like that without a whole crowd of people going, well, you're just being blah, blah, blah. Like, it's good to be able to experience our reactions and then tease out where they're coming from and what actually the problem. Like, so my city is putting in literal surveillance cameras. There's no way to get around what they're putting in. It's through an outside third-party private something security firm, and they're putting in what's called flock cameras. I absolutely hate the premise of that. Hate it. Because it's for safety. It's for all this other bullcrap. It's to stop stealing and to protect our children and whatever else they want to feed you, whatever bullshit they want to give you. Just like age verification is to protect the children. And I am telling you right now, that shit is going to be used to spy on people. I don't give a damn what people say. There's already folks who are in trouble with the company, with the flock, with that private investment firm or private security firm. There's folks who are already on trial or about to be on trial for using it to watch watch a school playground. Like that's a problem. And so I don't disagree that I want more security, but I disagree with how they're going about it. I don't disagree that, hey, if they found this issue, which magically showed up as soon as this showed up, like listen guys, I run a gaming news podcast every week. I have not heard one time that there was an exploit that people could get on, download a game, shut off their system, disconnect from the internet, ask for a refund, and still play the game. I had never, not once, heard of that. Ever. But all of a sudden, this bad news about Sony comes out, and then magically, we have a security issue that needs to be addressed. Why do they choose security? Well, because people will exchange freedom for security every day of the freaking week. And so I see Falky smiling every once in a while while I'm going on this little tangent. But it really is along the same lines. And so when I say I disagree with the premise of an everyday 30-day check-in, it's because I don't like some outside entity putting one more aspect of control into my life to access something that is supposed to be enjoyment and supposed to represent freedom. I can go and I can read a book and enjoy the same kind of freedom that I can enjoy in a video game. It literally is getting to experience a different world. And that is so fun. That's why we play. We don't play because, well, some people do. But like, we don't play because we're addicted and we have to game, or if we don't game, we're going to like go into like withdrawals or anything. No, we play games because they're fun, because they take us to different worlds and we experience different stories and we have different moments. And when somebody else comes in, when an outside company comes in and says, hey, we're going to control how you can enjoy this, that's where my problem came in. But with what they're saying right here, cool. If this is how they would have come out and said, hey guys, listen, we have this issue. We're putting this in to combat it. It's a 30-day check-in. You have 30 days to check into the game. Once you check into it once, you're done forever. Cool. And what that'll do is it'll make it to where when somebody downloads the game, they have to check into the game before the license gets validated. That way they can't call in and get a refund while still having their system offline. GameLogIQ, were you going to say something?
I can't even remember what I was going to say now.
Okay, I am so sorry. I went off on a little tangent there.
No. I was trying to say you've talked so long that I forgot what I was going to say. I'm just saying this is a very wide, broad topic with 99 different tributaries and rivulets that we could go down. So I think the only thing I was punctuating was you mentioned not owning games. I just punctuate that no one has ever owned a video game. You've owned a copy of a game, but you've never owned the video game itself, and that has a very long historical tale on it. That goes beyond just the bounds of the gaming industry, the software industry.
Yeah, it kind of what was really funny is it turned into kind of a big nothing burger an hour before the show. So like, I knew I had to cover it because of how up in arms everybody was about it, and it is the gaming news of the week. But it's like Hero pointed out before the show, it's the gaming news of the week because gaming news is super slow there right now.
He was just tired of talking about Saros. I just want to play it. That's why it's slow.
Yeah.
One other thing I want to mention is like probably square one, right, with the DRM topic is the first place that it starts to go wrong. And we had this when we had the Xbox outages of 2023. Is that, and I kind of mentioned something to this in the chat. I was ranting at the time, so it may not come. Like, people don't understand what DRM is. And so there are lots of things that occur that just because it's digital, it's kind of like with AI now, right? Like there's tons of things that have been being done for decades that are not AI, that are just automation, but they get lumped under the umbrella of the term AI because people are pissed off about AI. And we get kind of the same thing with DRM. There are lots of things that happen with regards to access and authorization, acknowledgement of your entitlements, checking tokens, right? That don't have to do with DRM, that are the same functionality that you have with any software application. Whether or not you're accessing license to a particular entitlement to a particular piece of software as a service, and all that stuff gets lumped under DRM. And people are like, well, they need to fix DRM. I'm like, that that thing that's a problem has nothing to do with DRM. So you're asking. I understand you're mad, and I'm not saying you can't be mad, but you're literally giving them feedback to fix something and labeling it the wrong thing, right? So you're not asking the right question, and you not asking the right question is probably going to result in you not getting any action.
Sorry, I gotta let my dog in. Yeah, and that's kind of, listen, I understand you're upset. It's okay to be upset, but let's point that energy at the right place to be upset. It's like, and that happens.
What's to be upset about? Like, I'm probably going to deviate from the last 20 minutes worth of ranting, to be honest, but it's not unusual, and it's not new behavior, and it's not like, what's to be upset about? If this is just the next rung on the long ladder, or the next brick in the long, the big wall of things that major corporations do to try and get a solution to something, what's the actual tangible impactual outcome from this change? Does it mean you have to consume things differently? Does it mean that you're not going to be able to access things that you currently can access in a manner that you become used to without some major deviation or change? And it's not just for Sony, it's for all of them that do it. As I said before, all the streaming services do this crap. No one bats an eyelid about it. And it's not streaming video and Netflix and that. All the music streaming services do it. All your software as a solution services, for everything you do this stuff. If you have a subscription somewhere, or you're buying stuff digitally anywhere, it just seems to be, it's an overblown piece because someone wants to make some big deal out of it, because all it does is it riles up a community that is 4/5 of nothing of the broader gaming community for the sake of trying to make a few bucks off engagement. It's the biggest nothing burger that's happened in the last couple of weeks, until the next massive nothing burger pops up on the menu. If I sound like I'm being dismissive, it's because who cares? Honestly, who cares?
Well, I'll give a little bit of a slice of like where I want to give some deference to the people who could have a legitimate problem. And yes, by and large with you, I agree. And like in my biggest part of this is like, so even if this were real, even if this were a huge problem and inconvenience someone, right? One of my key things that I voice to people is, like the person who said, what did I ask him? I said, when was the last time your PlayStation 5 was disconnected from the internet for 30 days? Now I said that to Brap, who Brap and I were having a bit of a, a bit of a promo at each other, like in wrestling terms. So, and I know Brap, and I know what his gaming habits are, and I'm like, dude, your PS5 is never disconnected from the internet. So a person came into that thread and said, 4 months out of every year when I have to go and I have to work at a remote location. And I'm like, okay, so let's take that scenario and pin it. And I'm like, okay, even if that's valid, and even if that makes an issue for you, right? We can have a discussion about how I think you can work around that. But let's say that makes an issue for you. My key thing is you need to understand, being an informed consumer, you need to understand you're not the market, right? And quite honestly, so from a business perspective, and again, I'm saying this, I'm not saying this to make people mad. I'm saying this so that people have an understanding. If PlayStation looked at this compromise that supposedly happened, where people were gaining access to their games and not paying for them, they were essentially pirating them, stealing their games, right? And PlayStation said, we're looking at the telemetry, and out of 90 million PlayStation 5 sold, I can see that, pick a number, that 78 million, 88 million, whatever number, 87 million, right, is connected to the internet every 30 days. And I've got some 3 million to 6 million to 12 million, pick a number, of PlayStation 5s that go into a disconnected state for longer than 30 days. And then I can see the telemetry, I can see how long that lasts. And so I build a system based on that telemetry, and I say 30 days feels like the right number. And I instantiate a policy, and that digitally disbars some 3 million consoles. I think as consumers, we need to understand if you're in that bucket of 3 million consoles, PlayStation may be saying, yeah, if that's a big problem for you and you feel like you need to leave the platform, then please go ahead. Right? I've got 87 million paying customers still hanging around, and I'm sorry, but that's the reality. So I think that's a pragmatic reality that has to be acknowledged. Where I will say is, but when I'm saying that, I'm also not saying that people can't be mad or are not allowed to be mad, right? I work in an environment where I can't have wirelessly connected devices. So when Apple decided that they were no longer building iPods, and I'm not talking about the iPod Touch, which had Wi-Fi, but there are other iPods that didn't have Wi-Fi, that bothered me because that was removing a product from the market that I needed. And I felt like there was not necessarily a reason why Apple couldn't figure out a way to keep those around. That doesn't mean that that's anti-consumer, or that doesn't mean that Apple's not out to get me, or that doesn't mean that I'm entitled to have a solution because I need it. That just means that that supplier and that vendor have decided that doesn't suit their business model. And so if I need something else, then I need to find a supplier that provides that. So I think that's part of what got twisted here is, people decided that, or people felt that, that PlayStation was required to provide a service to them. And I'm like, well, the reality is that like there's no guarantee now, particularly now in the digital age, that any single vendor is going to be a long-term provider for you of the services that you need for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Like there are going to be points, and I've gone through this, there are going to be points where you need to decide to deplatform and off-board with a vendor and a supplier and go take your business elsewhere. That's just a reality. But I think before we throw I'm not saying you are, before we throw the term anti-consumer around, I have another rant about that. Before we throw the term anti-consumer around, we need to acknowledge, like, I don't know that it's necessarily anti-consumer if it impacts 2% of their user install base. That just may be what we call in capitalism good business.
Okay, I'm going to push back a lot on that statement. Because actually, you know what? I'm not. Because you started out by saying if it was the case. It wasn't. It's not what they were saying, which means they didn't come to that conclusion, which means that didn't happen. Like they didn't.
They being who? Just clarify.
Sony didn't, because the scenario that Logic just gave was based on the assertion that what was originally thought was correct, was what happened. Like you would have to check in every 30 days, you would have to be digitally or connected every 30 days in order to still access those titles. That's actually not what happened and not what's going on. Once you access it first for that first 30-day check-in, you're done and it's yours to access.
But even with your comment, you said, but they could, right? So I think that's still irrelevant.
Oh yes, they could. And if they did that, I would go physical media only, because I completely disagree with them being able to do that. It's the reason why the license thing has never been an issue is because no company has ever tried to, well, let me rephrase that. I'm going to say not no company has ever tried to abuse it, but it's not been abused on such a large enough scale to where it's raised any eyebrows. Something like this that affects 120 something million users, monthly users, that's a big enough scale to raise a few dang eyebrows.
I think the scenario we're talking through, 120 million users aren't impacted.
But they're not. Once again, I don't think it's going to affect that many people, even if they did do it. But the premise is still jacked up.
This leads me back to my comment. Who cares? What's the underlying problem here? They're saying you buy the game digitally. There's a one-time check-in to confirm that the license is still held with you.
Sure. I agree.
And this there also relates to. It's not necessarily just related to new games. It's relating to second-hand markets as well. So I could have a digital PS5 with my login and all that on it. I could sell that to someone and just hand the password over the whole thing over to them. and all of a sudden I don't own any of that stuff anymore. It's somebody else's.
But sure.
Or of effectively on-sold a digital game in that aspect, or someone buys a second-hand console and they're buying the games digital and all the rest of it. There's a whole heap of back-end cleanup, I guess, that would have to be associated with that. Is the person who's representing, who's listed here, the actual person themselves, and is this console, is it still active? Is it not active? Is it sitting in a store somewhere to be sold? Has the reseller wiped it properly as they're supposed to do with all their arrangements for secondhand digital media and all the rest of it, and having the ability to do that stuff? There's a whole list of things that could be behind this, but we could surmise the what ifs and maybes up to from here to there. What we would know for certain is they would not have made this change by spending money to do it and risking this kind of uproar with the public or the consumers without having a damn good reason to, which they would know of. And all they are chasing up here is a one-time check-in to confirm the game's license, after which no further check-ins are required. That's the only thing that's in this media release, according to GameStop, who are the ones, or GameSpot rather, who are the ones who are reporting it. There's nothing on SIE's blog, there's nothing on SIE's website, there's nothing on Sony or PlayStation's press release things to outline a complete response to this. We've just got to take this quote at its word.
So David, I'm pushing it a little bit further than that, because I want to get through cracking the nut about anti-consumer digital rights management and expectations of consumers. So I'm saying, under the scenario where there was a 30-day check-in required, and so Thrifty, I completely accept and acknowledge, and I think and approve, give it a thumbs up. I think it's good. Like your statement that, hey, if this policy were instantiated, my response to it would be, this is bullshit. It doesn't work for me. I'm going to go physical media only.
Correct.
That totally, absolutely.
Because it's a control issue to me. That's what it is. It's a company coming in that I have given money to and made a transaction, whether the legality is that I don't technically own it or not. The reality is that in my mind, I have made a transaction. That game is now mine. And you're telling me that if I don't follow your jackass rules, I can't continue to play that game. I don't like that level of control after the sale is finalized. That's like buying a Coke and having somebody tell me how to drink that Coke.
So now we're getting to
that's my crux of the issue, to be honest with you. It's a control thing.
But now we're getting to the, I was with you on all of those topics until you mentioned I bought a thing from you, and now you're telling me that you're changing the conditions under which you're changing the conditions under which I have permission to continue using it. Not that they're preventing you from using it, but they're changing the requirements, right, by which you can use it.
Yes.
So, I mean, and again, I'm not saying that you're wrong or you can't feel this way, but I'm just saying that is an inherent part of a digital transaction, right? And this is why, from a legal perspective, again, because I'm not saying this to just try and piss you off, but from a legal perspective, these things are not property, right? Because of that specific instance right there, is that they can tell you that they are going to change how you can use it. And that, from a legal perspective, is an inherent, intrinsic characteristic that is not of the things that we call property. Property, from a legal term, is something that you own that people cannot tell you how you can use it. Now, we have regulations and we have other laws and we have some other things that layer on top of that. But essentially, if you own property, if you own a piece of land, somebody can't tell you that you can't build a shed on that land.
Correct.
And let's take HOAs out of the equation, right? Because that's a little additional different. But just bear in mind, you own 2 acres of land. Somebody can't tell you that you can't build a shed on it, or that you can't build an outhouse, right? Or that you can't build a dog shed, or that you can't build a clubhouse.
Sure.
Right? That's your land, and within certain bounds, right, of federal regulations and whatnot, you can decide how to use it.
Sure. So we have chickens at our house, and we had to clarify because we live in the city. So we had to clarify exactly what kind of chickens we could get. We couldn't have a rooster. We had to have a pen. We had to have this. There were rules in place that said, hey, you need to do these things. So I'm tracking with what you're saying.
Right. But an intrinsic property of software is that, and I'm going to read from this that I've written, and I've written this legal prudence or whatever a couple of times, but software is an intangible, non-rivalrous, and easily replicated digital work. Concepts of property ownership, which are all rooted in medieval concepts of common property law, have never applied, even when software came on floppy disks. So, and I mean, and the courts have been through this, right? That all of these inherent properties of software are such that they do not fall into the legal things that we term as property. And so I so I guess what I'm saying partially is I feel like an acknowledgement of people who participate willfully of their own free will, nobody's putting a gun to their head, who willfully participate in digital transactions need to inherently understand that. Because what you are doing is you are buying a license that authorizes you to access software basically as a service, but the point being that you are getting permission to access software on a platform that is owned by other people. Essentially, what we have in the digital age now is we have digital feudalism, essentially, and so there are lords who own the network, who own the platform, right? And they provide a lease for people to farm that land.
Yeah,
but they don't own that land.
That's a great example.
So, and again, I'm not saying that when things change, people can't be pissed off, people can't push back. But I'm saying that that inherent difference between that arrangement and buying a car, buying a washing machine, buying a piece of property, I feel like should be understood.
So, the thing is I do understand it. That's the problem. I fully understand what I am doing when I purchase something digitally. Okay. And the understanding has been with me since I had an iPhone 3. Okay. I then moved up to an iPhone 4. After that, You didn't do a pit stop at iPhone 3G? No. I never did the 3GS. But on my iTunes account, this was back when you had to upload it onto the computer. And you had to sync it with the computer in order to get your music onto your phone. You couldn't just do a direct download. You had to actually download it on the iTunes app or the iTunes program, right? That's back when we called them programs and not apps. The iTunes program, you would have to download it and then put that onto the phone. Well, I swapped, and when I went to the iPhone 7, because I skipped the 5. No, I skipped the 3GS and the 4. I went to the 5, and then I got a 6 Plus. When I went to the 6 Plus, something happened with my iTunes account, and I could no longer access any of the music that I had purchased. Or what ticked me off even more is it wasn't so much what I purchased, but back in the day when you could get music online for free and download it as a file to your computer and then transfer it over into iTunes and then drag it from iTunes onto your phone, you then were able to get all of your LimeWire stuff onto your phone, which was awesome. But when the iPhone 6 came out, something happened when I updated iTunes, and all of those that I had put on there from so many years prior were gone. Done. And I'm talking about stuff I had purchased and stuff that I hadn't purchased. Everything was gone. So I had to start over. It was unrecoverable. Apple couldn't help me. Everything was gone. If I had physical media, that wouldn't have happened. But I understood from that point forward, when you purchase something digitally, which I continue to do, there is a chance that the software, the back end, the cloud, whatever the hell they want to call it, goes belly up and you lose all of that shit. The unlikelihood of Apple doing this is very high, but they could come out tomorrow and say, hey, Apple is closing. Anything you have in iTunes, anything you have on our servers, anything you have in our cloud, it's going to go with it. And at that point, yeah, I know what I've signed up for, and I get that that is a potential that could happen. What I am arguing, though, is that it has never been it's never been a massive issue up until the company that is selling you that license decides to do something like what people thought PlayStation was doing. And then I think that becomes an abuse of power. That becomes the lords kind of pushing their weight around a bit. And like, hey, it literally goes back to that statement, you will do this and you will like it. And Hero pointed it out. Hero said, listen, we've already lost the battle. We just don't fully know it yet. And because he's right. The amount of breath and time and energy and brain cells that I've wasted tonight talking about this isn't going to make a dang bit of difference. When I tell y'all... Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
We're back to where I started.
Who fucking cares?
What can we do?
Right. But that right there is... There is a difference between apathy, which is I can't do anything, so I'm going to do nothing. We become very apathetic. We become kind of tone deaf to it. Like, who gives a rat's rip? This doesn't matter. I can't fix it anyway, so I'm not going to do anything about it and to even try. Got it. That's a very valid stance to take when you've been around as long as we have and we've seen the strings and we've seen the puppet show and we're like, okay, cool. This is just companies being companies. Hell, GameLogIQ went on a good little tirade where he explained all of this and basically saying, hey, listen, they probably looked at it, and even if they did do this, 2-3%, Sony ain't going to give a shit about that. That's fine. And so, like, that makes sense from a business side. But on the consumer side, it literally feels like you're putting roadblocks to me accessing the titles that I have paid for the license for. And if they would have done that, I think the only logical thing to combat it is either apathy or action. Either you say, hey, you take the Faulkner stance of going, hey, listen, I don't think this is that big of a deal. And even if it was, I can't do shit about it. So I'm just going to keep trucking along. Or you do what I said where like, no, F that. I'm just going to go ahead and buy physical from this point forward. Like, both of those are valid reactions to that. And I actually support both of those. Like, hey, listen, I am where you are, Faulkner, on other issues. Not just gaming stuff, but I'm there on certain things. Like somebody asked me, hey, what do I think about what our president is doing? And I'm like, I honestly have no fucking idea what he's doing because there's nothing that I can do to affect it. Therefore, I don't even watch it. And so, like, I get it.
It's your own sanity, isn't it?
I get it where you can choose apathy or action. Those are the two options that we have.
That's it.
And
well, I think so. Two items of I guess maybe I'll call it pushback. So number one is, so I agree with you that if this had been retroactive to stuff that you had purchased before, that would be twisted, right? But I will say, Blake, you know, I've given you a simulated scenario on top of the already fan fiction scenario that didn't exist in the first place. So, sure. But like when the fan fiction was written, even it said this impacted new games that were being purchased, right?
Correct.
So let's assume for the sake of argument that like your past digital library wasn't affected. This impacted all the stuff moving forward. If it had impacted like your older library, I would definitely be more understanding of being like twisted up about that. But my only thing about like your characterization of like it's either, what did you say? It's either apathy or
action.
Right, apathy or action. Yeah, I mean I think that's always the binary. What I will say is often I get concerned when there are feelings amongst the gaming community that they choose to get angry because they think there's no action possible, right? When this often happens. I'm not saying this is what you're doing. This often happens when there are alternatives on the market. There are different suppliers. There are people doing things to address that specific problem. Good Old Games, right, sells DRM free games.
Sure, 100% DRM free.
So you could, an option would absolutely be to go, and again, I'm not trying to say this as a gotcha for you, but like an option, like if you're twisted up about DRM and you are fighting a moral battle on the internet about DRM and asserting that anytime DRM rears its ugly head, there's a problem, then there is a solution for that. And the solution for that is to go PC and go to GOG. But what happens, I think, like in this argument is that, and what people don't acknowledge is like, so that option exists. I'm not saying you, I'm saying the general public you. You know that option exists. You're not taking that option because you want these games. You want the PlayStation games or whatever they are, the Xbox games. Whatever. So it's not that you don't have an off-ramp. It's that you are making a conscious decision that out of a list of requirements that need to be met, one of which is content and game titles, and another one of which is assertion of your digital freedom, you have consciously made the decision that the access to the content, even at risk, is more important to you than defending your digital freedoms. And you're just hoping that your digital freedom, you're accepting, in risk management, we call this, you are accepting the risk.
Yes.
You are accepting the risk that your digital freedoms aren't going to be infringed upon because the content is worth that much more to you.
Correct.
And so where I get bugged, and I'm not saying you, where I get bugged is I get bugged by people not unwinding that and walking through those breadcrumbs and realizing that it's maybe not evil Sony, right, or evil whomever, right? It's you are making a conscious decision that amongst these items on the grocery list, you're deciding that these items on the grocery list are more important to you than this other thing. And you may be expressing a lot of noise and a lot of discontent about it, but the fact of the matter is you've decided you want access to these games.
Sure. So
while you acknowledge that your digital rights to access it, may change.
So every single one of us knows Nelson. Every single one of us. Nelson has been on PlayStation's ass for like the better part of the past 8 months to a year. He doesn't like a lot of the stuff they're doing. It openly says that. He's been in the Autoplayer podcast chat saying it. He's been on their own podcast on the State of Gaming on Will 777JP's channel saying it. Like, he is unhappy with a lot of the decisions Sony makes. And he's gone on frustrating rants talking about it. But when you go to the logical outplay of that, Nate has messed with him before. I've said it, and I think Will's told him this. Like, hell, man, if you're so pissed off at Sony, why don't you sell your PS5? He goes, and go where? And so it's like, at some point, even though you're upset about it, like you said, you make the conscious effort and the conscious decision to go, you know what? I am pissed off at you right now, and I do not like what you're doing. But when does the next game come out?
That's what I said in the chat. You don't have to like it, but you might have to accept it.
And yes, and acceptance is not approval. People need to get those two things out of their fucking head. Acceptance doesn't mean I approve. Go ahead, Faulky. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're right. You're right. It's just, and I don't disagree. It's probably the beauty of the conversation without being tied into a team green, team blue, team red, team purple, team rainbow violet, whatever. We all generally agree on most things, the three of us having this conversation. We've got differentiating points, which just makes it interesting and learning stuff. But it's, like you're saying about Nelson, he's got a good point. Where do you go? Well, you could go to Steam, you could go to Nintendo, you could go somewhere else. But they're all doing the same bullshit. And whether it's because they find, again, I'll go back to the financial perspective of it. And no major corporation is going to spend a cent of money on something they don't have to do. So there's a reason they're doing this, and it's either to protect their income or that they're being forced to by some regulatory requirement. We don't know why or what it is. They haven't come out and said what the driver is with any absolute honesty, and they never will. But it's that point of, well, do we accept this with the options we have available, or do we not? And if we don't accept it, and they're all doing it, well then, we're screwed. We just have to, we don't have to like it, but we will put up with it to a certain point. And then at some point, something will happen and we don't like it, and we just pull the plug on it, and we stop doing it. We find something else to occupy our time.
That is a point that was brought up, I think, several months ago. I had Nate and Morgan both on the show, and we were talking about people who just want to complain about gaming. And
aren't there some of those getting around?
And it's because what we surmised, and it was basically them, not me, because they're smarter, but what they surmised was that these people aren't necessarily still in gaming because they want to be. They're in gaming because they don't know what else to do with their time. Like, gaming is no longer satisfying them no matter what they do. So all they have left to do is complain and kind of just keep going along with what has always been for them. And it takes a really, really self-aware person to look and go, you know what? Let me think here. Let me go ahead and what a miserable life. Yeah, exactly. Let me go ahead and reevaluate what's going on. I have not found happiness, excitement, or any kind of joy in a video game for the better part of 2 years, which I've heard literal people say. And yet they keep going back to the same dang thing. Let me tell you something, my friends. The moment I stop enjoying video games on a large scale like that is the moment I shut down the channel and I move on with my life. Because at that point, it's just like with the channel, actually. There was a time where I literally thought about just blowing it up and saying, screw it. But I changed my focus, and I really enjoyed the idea of building the gaming community. And that's been the most fun part of this for me. Sure, the money is fun. The money helps fund my addiction. That's great. But like, for the most part, it really is just to build the community. That's why I've been pushing the Discord a lot more lately, because I want to see gamers be able to express their voices with other gamers, because most of us don't have somebody physically in our circles who we can geek out with gaming. I see it all the time when I walk into a client's house to check on their AC system or to do a maintenance or whatever, and I see that they have a gaming room, and I ask them, hey man, what game are you playing right now? I love video games. What game are you playing? Their eyes light up like nobody in real life has ever asked them that question. And then they just talk for the next 15, 20 minutes about the games they're playing, the things they like about them. And we start this whole conversation because people don't generally have that outlet. So anyways, that's a side note. It's within this discussion, people do need to take a look at themselves, and maybe you have outgrown gaming. That doesn't mean gaming is for children. That doesn't mean once you get to a certain age, you need to stop gaming. That means that over time, interest and likes do change, and maybe, just maybe, you are no longer as interested in video games as you used to be. Because let me tell you, I am having to choose what games to skip, what games to get, what games to skip, because in the subservice I have, I'm getting access to a game that I've been looking forward to playing. There's so many games being pushed right now that if you have a problem finding what's going on, or finding something that you enjoy, then maybe it's not the gaming industry, maybe it's you. So if there's a line from a spoken word artist called Propaganda. He said, if every spot on your body that you touch hurts, your body's not messed up, but your finger may be broken. In other words, if you get pain every time you touch something on your body, maybe your finger's broken. If you go to gaming and every game you pick up is the first thing you think of is, oh my God, this is Sweet Baby Inc. bullcrap, or oh my Lord, these devs are doing an agenda, or oh my gosh, this game doesn't run perfectly, or oh my goodness, there's this and that. Like if your first inclination is critique instead of enjoyment, then maybe gaming is not for you anymore. If things like this made up bullcrap issue makes you jump and go, I'm selling everything gaming related, then listen, more power to you. But you could just be outgrowing gaming, and that's okay. You don't need to get on the internet. You can back away. It's totally fine. Nelson Gaming, TV pissed me off, so I stopped watching TV. Same with sports. I got nothing left but food and games, and I'm too fat to solely only look forward to food.
Oh, that's brutal.
Hey,
That's
Nelson, man, much love, dude. Hey, I gave the scenario of you, not that I think you have outgrown gaming or anything like that, but because you're the closest scenario I have to somebody who's completely pissed off with Sony and still playing on their console. Like, that. Hey, what's up, Knight SPG? Nice to see you here. But like, it's one of the things about gaming that has really been shown over the past few years, especially with the console war, because people have taken the games that we love and the platform that you choose to play on and have turned it into an entire freaking identity, which is weird as hell.
Oh yeah.
Like, and I'm gonna get on my soapbox just to ooch, because it's weird. It's weird to put your identity into something that is controlled by somebody else. It's weird to make yourself and your almost to validate your existence as a person based off of what box sits under your TV or next to your computer. I don't fucking know. Next to your computer or whatever. That type of existence leads to instability within a person. And that could be anything. Like, guys, if you make TikTok your existence, if you make social media your existence, if you just want to be an influencer, if you make Minecraft if you make anything outside of who you are as a core individual, and maybe you don't know who you are as an individual, and that's why you latch onto these things. There is a mental issue there. And I'm not saying that to be an asshole. I'm saying that to tell you there is a mental issue there when you put your identity into something. It's the same issue I have with people of a certain community when they put their initials and what they like to be called and what their, like, all the other crap is above the answer to the question of, hey, so your name is Sally. Tell me something about yourself, Sally. And they have nothing other than the labels that they've been given as their identity. That's a problem. That is a mental issue. You don't know who you are. And you need to figure that out. If your existence is the gaming zeitgeist, get the fuck off of this podcast, shut down the internet, turn it off, and stay away for a week. Don't stay away for 30 days because you'll lose access to your PlayStation games, but stay away for a week. Take a breath, take a breather. It's okay to push away from the proverbial table and be like, you know what? I need a break. Anyways, sorry. It's frustrating to see because it goes to what Logic was talking about when he talked about the sensationalism surrounding all of these issues. It's really the crux of it. Is the reason why we get so sensationalized about these things and so over dramatic is because there is a foundation. it's almost to the point where people have put gaming as the foundation of everything. They wake up, they talk about gaming. They go to sleep, they talk about gaming. It's all that they do, it's all that they are. And that to me shows a lack of stability and a lack of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Depth, maybe. I think depth. Yeah.
It's a lack of complex thinking or lack of lateral thinking. I had a really interesting conversation with a while now with I won't use their name. They're a psychologist by trade, right?
Okay.
20 plus years experience, worked in some really fascinating papers and wrote a few bits and pieces. And well, their surmisation of the social media aspect of gaming with these particular types of individuals is someone like the three of us that are on this conversation. Gaming is a part of our life, but it wouldn't make up more than 2 or 3% of our total identity, right? Minute amount. We enjoy it. We've been doing it for a long time. It's part of our let's call it our routine. It's part of our identity. It's not our lead point. It's not who we are when someone says, hey, give us your top 5 things of what you are, who you are as a person. I would struggle to put gaming in my top 10 of who I am as a person, what are my major likes and dislikes. That'd be a fair comment for most part for the three of us on here. Our main major identities aren't tied into our gaming habits and whatnot. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that I'd say there's a generalization. Because the conversations I've had with you two gentlemen, they don't just focus on one specific thing around Team Blue or Team Green or whatever it is. We have broader conversations about bigger things in life. There are individuals who they're not 1 or 2 or 3% gaming. They are 30, 40, 50% of their identity is gaming and tied to a specific brand or a specific product. Their identity is just tied into this. That is who they are. And it is the first or the second thing that they will say is, who are you and tell us about you? I am Team Xbox all the way. I am a Steam player all the way. I'm Team PC all the way. They're tied into something very specific. And they gravitate into these little communities on social media. And not forgetting gaming social media is like 2% of the total gaming population, right?
Right.
So it's a hyper-focused, hyper-intensive, like really, really niche little group of people who are just fanatically aligned in their identity to this thing. And if you make any kind of slight against what they are tied to in their identity, you might as well have walked up to them and slapped them with a fish. They will take massive amounts of offense from even the smallest slight against what they would be perceived their identity, because they've tied themselves as a person to it.
Right.
And
you've made it personal.
That is make it personal, but they take it way beyond what is sensible or what would be considered. This is getting a little bit intense for a teenager. And they're not teenagers; they're grown adults. Their 20s, their 30s, and their 40s, and this is all they've got. So as soon as you start talking anything that sounds or comes across as not 100% supportive of exactly what they like, they take it as a personal insult and a personal attack, and they respond as if you are trying to kill them. At times, they will respond as if you're a threat to their very existence. And that in itself is a danger. And that's where you get a lot of this stuff online, where they pop up with these like you see something and then the next thing the comment is heading off to the left or it's heading off to the right or it's completely diving off the cliff. What the hell? You look at them, you go, why are they reacting so harsh to this? That's the reason why. They are so ingrained in their personality. It's an illness at times. And it's not just unique to gaming. Musicians and artists suffer from this a lot as well. You'll find people who are into sport. You look at the Premier League fanatics over in the soccer over in England. That's, for some people, that is all they have. And it's almost heartbreaking at times to witness it. They work and football. And that's it. And they're not interested in the job they have. And it is just like, it's scary to consider that that is who they are, but that's who you're dealing with. But that's the reality of it. And you know, for some, they can just put it down and take a break, but for others, it's like you're cutting off their oxygen supply. They will go out of their brain and have a meltdown and a proper on breakdown if they had to disengage from it without it being a controlled disengagement.
Yep.
I know that sounds like I'm winding up. I kid you not, this is directly from someone with 20 years plus experience in psychology and dealing with these kind of matters in teenage kids and young adults. It is in social media with the algorithms just reinforces that, and it hyper focuses their reinforcement. And you wonder why you get people like Colt and some of these other guys who can just say stuff and have people just lap it up and off they go. That's why. That's who the algorithm is funneling them into that point. They can say whatever they like and people will just eat it up and then they'll go and spread it. And God help anyone who speaks against them.
Hey, one thing, Thrifty, that I wanted to add. You made a comment earlier. I think it was
Taking notes on you.
acceptance is not approval.
Yes.
Yeah. So I want to also add that also goes both ways. And again, I'm not saying that you weren't saying that, but many people on the internet, like when they hear an explanation like what I walked through tonight, will say, "Oh, well, you're approving." So no, I didn't approve Sony's change.
Nope.
Right. But I understand the causality behind Sony's change, and I think it's important for other people to understand that causality. So we constantly go through this, explaining a thing means that you're approving a thing, and I'm like, no, let's like. There's a reason there's two different words in the English language that mean there's two different things, right? Explanation is not approval.
So what's really interesting is when I started. So two things. One, I want to pull the thread on what you just said, but also in reply to what Faulkner had said. So I'm going to lose my train of thought. So let's start with logic first. So acceptance is not approval. There is something that on this channel, whenever Sony has made a decision that does seem a little more business focused than player focused, like more blatant, obvious examples. I have always looked at it and approached it from, okay, not the emotional gamer side, but let me look at this from the business side. Does it make sense financially why they did this? Like it, lump it, get over it. Does it make sense financially why they did this? And 9 times out of 10, you're like, yeah, that makes total sense. Now, where it didn't make sense was like the live service push and other things like that we could talk about those for hours and just kind of circular reason ourselves into a conversation for 3.5 hours. Not what I'm trying to do here. But like, there are times when I've gotten crap before for quote unquote defending Sony, when I clearly state and have to give 85 damn clarifications to the hard-headed idiots out there who don't actually listen when somebody speaks and just look for talking points to reply to before actually like fully listening to their point. You know the people. That's the ones who are making a counter argument to the first thing you said instead of listening to the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth thing you said. And when we do that, one, the shows become longer because we're constantly having to clarify. Now, I'm not saying I approve of this, but I can, like, that shit's annoying. Like, people just need to have a better brain inside of their head to go, okay, he's talking about the business side of this, and I can see his point that on the business side, I can understand why they would do this. That's all that we try to do here, is bring a little bit of understanding to the scenario. That's it. That's why we tease these things out. That's why we talk about them. That's why we, like Logic always says, that's why we pull these threads. Because we're trying to bring understanding to the scenario. Whether it's from the gamer perspective or the business perspective, we're just trying to bring some understanding to what's going on. That's why we discuss these things. Now, with regard to what Faulkner said, which, see, this is where I nope, lost it. Nope, never mind, not getting it back. I knew I was going to lose one of them.
Move on.
Let's just move on. Story of the night. People suck. What is up, El Nini? Josh Ayers was the one that said story of the night. People suck. Yes, this is the story. So the psychology thing is really cool. I have a friend of mine right now who is doing his master's work in psychology. And it's pretty freaking interesting because he has actually been working really closely with his professors. He is actually the guy who does a lot of our DMing for our D&D game. And he said it's pretty cool because he's been allowed the freedom to use Dungeons and Dragons D&D as a therapy tool within scenarios built within class. And he's like, it's pretty cool the lines that you can draw from the characters that people create and how they either they're mirroring their life or it's avoidance. They're creating this character that's so opposite from them because of whatever. Like, it's really neat. And I've talked to him about coming on, and I actually posted a while back that, hey, give me ideas of things you want to talk about within the like psychology of gaming, because I love talking about that stuff, because there is a psychology here that as people who are gamers, like, we do, part of us, we do spend a lot of time gaming, and so that does have an impact on our psyche and how we operate. And I think it's so cool to kind of explore those aspects, which is why, like I said, Medical Life Sciences News, there's that article that I was going to get to tonight, but we still have the Xbox stuff to cover, and we don't have a lot of time left. But it's basically the post-game depression and the emotional impact it has on players. I love those type of topics. I love the fact that there used to be this guy on TikTok who, he was a black dude. He basically related a lot of stuff to gaming, and people in the comments would ask, well, you can't relate gaming to psychology. And he's like, why not? Why not? Here you go. He goes, let me ask you this. Are you, if you maybe have ADHD, you've always wondered why the games that you start get 85% complete and then you never complete one. And at that point, I just swiped up because I was like, fuck you. I don't want you to talk to me no more. Leave me alone. Like, don't call me out while I'm sitting here talking about how my real life dictates my gaming life. Shut up. I don't want to hear that. Like, it's also why I always play the goody two-shoes in every game that I play, because I have an idealistic version of the world in my head where, generally speaking, people aren't a-holes. They're nice to each other. And if you just do the things that a normal, decent citizen should do, you're generally going to reap what you sow. And so Thrifty did feel attacked. That's absolutely. But, like, it's something that I love exploring, because the psyche of the gamer is, that's what it was. This is the reply to David's stuff. The psyche of the gamer is a very fascinating thing to me. And, oh, Hero, I am a true idealist romantic from, like, the word go. Like, I was raised on Disney's freaking Boy Meets World. Like, that was my thing. Like, Saved by the Bell, Boy Meets World, all of those shows that always had happy endings. Perfect. Like, that's what raised me. The psycho gamers are far more funny. Yes, they are. The unhinged ones on both sides. Okay, so the last thing. Let's talk about another DRM issue. And if y'all have the time, we can do this. If not, we'll go ahead and shelf it and we'll just talk about it next week, because I feel like it's going to be another slow week because we're ramping up to the end of May. Or sorry, the end of April. And so we can either do, does gaming need more suffering? Or we can do the third title of the podcast tonight, which is the backwards compatibility issues for Microsoft. And I will let y'all two decide. Faulky, what would you want to do? The more suffering is needed in video games? Listen. So, do you want...
weird ass shit are you talking about?
So this right here. We're at the end of a 2-decade-long trend, removing friction from everything. Black Tabby co-founder Tony Howard told GameSpot, "If you don't have friction, you
Oh,
don't."
this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could talk
Again,
about that,
um,
or we could talk about Xbox backwards compatibility issue. That's a rare issue affecting only a small number of players, but you cannot access any of your 360 catalog.
wow, that doesn't sound like something we spoke about for the last hour, does it?
It's
Uh,
well, but this
Sorry,
one's actually real. This one, this one, that's the difference. This one
that's
actually
the
happened.
difference. This one actually happens and it makes a tangible impact, whereas the other one, which everyone was blowing up about, is a non-tangible impact.
This is a
Um,
real world scenario that actually took
Sorry, yeah.
place.
I don't care. Both of them are nonsensical in my perspective,
I
but
don't
I'm happy
care.
to whatever Logic wants to talk about. I'm
All right,
happy.
Logic, you get to choose. Dealer's choice on you, sir. How do you want to close the show?
We can do the suffering one.
The suffering one. Okay. All right. So here's this article. It is basically Slay the Princess devs are the ones saying this. There are countless reasons why we play video games. For some of us, video games are a means to connect with others, a way to blah, 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 blah. Some use games as a means of escaping reality, while others appreciate the hobby's competitive, skill-based nature. However, far too few of us are using games for one of their most compelling purposes, to experience suffering. Okay? First of all, not exactly why I go to video games, but the author is acknowledging that. Not Arthur, that's a person. Much like Black Tabby Games co-founder Tony Arias Howard, whom I interviewed on this very topic, I'm only half kidding when I say this. I recognize that for many of us, times are hard, and the very notion of playing something to suffer sounds unappealing, to say the least. And yet, as I recollect on all my favorite games and stories, it's the ones that challenged me emotionally, that led me through hell and towards catharsis, that occupy the largest recesses of my mind. Now, this was at the point in the article, because I actually did read this one before I picked it. This was at the point in the article that I was like, okay. Last of Us, Clair Obscur, two of my favorite games. Ghost of Tsushima, one of my favorite games. Horizon, one of my favorite games. All of these were based around suffering. And as a child of the 90s who grew up on Disney films, listen, those were all about suffering. The parents always died in a shipwreck or in a canyon or in an explosion. You were always an orphan. You were always on your own. You were always in a world of terror until something came and pulled you out of it. So understanding that, there is part of me that is understanding what they're saying. Even God of War, the game is based on suffering. You are working through your suffering of, even in the new series, you're working on suffering and you're working through it. Like, people joke, and Raichi was probably going to chime in here if he's still around, about how we have the dad complex in Sony's first party games. They're big tentpole ones. It's just a bunch of dads doing stuff. And those dads go through really traumatic experiences and they have suffering in them. So I started to get to the point where I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Cool. But as I'm starting to think of these titles, I'm like, well, damn, do we really need more suffering in video games? Because I just mentioned like 6 titles that all have suffering as their main catalyst. And so I don't really know if we need more suffering in video games. But here's what he says. Through games, film, and various other forms of art, we are offered a relatively risk-free space to suffer, to delve deep into our feelings and reflect on loss, trauma, and perhaps even the parts of ourselves we'd rather turn away from. So why do we, and game developers for that matter, all too often shy away from suffering despite knowing what rewards it reaps? They go on to talk about the games that they've made and all of that, and like what they're working on in the future, and how they're able to kind of draw more from the psychological horror and go into all of that. Like, so the crux of the conversation comes from these 2 paragraphs right here. When you see something, and I will start with Logic on this one. When you see something, Logic, that says, hey, we need more suffering in games, and this is their reasoning, do you agree with this assertion or not?
I think in my takeaway from the article was more so their focus on the notion of difficulty, um, and consequence. Um, so so emotional suffering, I completely am on board with that. What I often say about video games in general, but also lots of other things in life, like even just like, you know, I mean, I often tell my teams, I'm like, look, if we're executing a project and we're not doing things to make ourselves uncomfortable, then like that's we need to ask ourselves a question, because it means maybe we're not challenging ourselves. And from a gaming perspective, like, all the the DEI, anti-woke stuff and yada yada yada. I'm like, again, if you're being presented, and I feel this way about all content, comic books, movies, like if you're consuming content and that content doesn't make you, like, it's some of that content, I absolutely agree. Some of that content should be B-movie stuff that just feels good and is entertaining, right? Like I love Army of Darkness, right? Army of Darkness does not make me go into an existential crisis and deep think about Freudian philosophy. Like it's just a great like romp, B movie. But I'm like, some of the content you consume, in my belief, should make you feel uncomfortable, should make you question, what you're seeing, should make you ask, the choices that are being portrayed that people go through. And I feel that way definitely about games. Games, some games should make you kind of squirm in your seat and feel uncomfortable. One of the biggest kind of breakthrough experiences that I had was playing the original Prey. And I don't mean the place, not the PlayStation, but I don't mean the Arcane game, which they licensed the name of the game Prey in order to title their game Prey and not run into legal problems. I mean the actual original game Prey, which was about you being a Native American or Indian, like on a reservation, who had kind of broken ways with learning the traditional ways of his people, and then like being in the middle of this alien invasion, and then having to like access like the powers and disciplines and stuff that his tribe had been trying to teach him. One of the ending sequence of that game was your spoilers for a 20-year-old game, was your girlfriend had been kidnapped by the aliens, and she had kind of been like grafted onto this monster, and had become this monster. And I spent like it's the final boss battle. I spent like 10 minutes like trying to convince myself that I could take this thing down without killing her. Because I was trying to make a choice. I was trying to make a moral choice. And then I hit this point after I'd failed the mission like for 10 minutes where I was like, oh, there's no way to not accomplish this thing without killing her. And like kind of chewing through that moral sacrifice. And I've talked, on this podcast and others about just like how, I'm sure you've gone through this, how like, when you watch The Walking Dead and you're not a parent, you interpret that a certain way. You become a parent and you watch some of the stuff that goes down on The Walking Dead with kids, and like your perspective on that like radically changes. So from that perspective, emotional suffering, I definitely feel like players should be exposed to that. I think when it comes to difficulty and consequence, my belief is that this perspective amongst game developers and designers, and I've gone through a very long like thesis tutorial lecture talk about my feelings about tutorials, right, and training players and how they should work in video games. This is similar, where I think that developers and designers of video games get it wrong, and they equate difficulty and consequence with friction. Just because something presents a challenge doesn't mean it has to be a pain in the ass to get to it. Right? And that's a very nuance in design. Some of the games you mentioned, Horizon Zero Dawn, I think you mentioned Horizon Zero Dawn, Tlu, and there was one other one.
I mentioned Horizon Zero Dawn, Tlu, God of War, Claire Obscura, Expedition 33, and Spider-Man early on. So I've mentioned 5 games. I said 6, but I mentioned 5.
Okay. All of those are perfect examples to me, and I love those games too. They're perfect examples to me of games that I can get into without having to go through a wall of bullshit.
Correct.
Right. So to me, those are friction. Those are super low friction games. They absolutely offer challenge and consequence, but I don't have to go through a bunch of bullshit to get to them. So the friction that I get bothered by is like nonsensicalness, things that are not intuitive, things that like the game like literally like expects you to be able to master this thing, but literally it never trains you on how to do it. It never talks you through the system. Even with what was the game that you and I talked about a lot? Legend of Heroes: Trails Beyond the Horizon. Literally things in that game that they never explain to you. Like, and I get it. Like, it's probably an assumption that you've played like a dozen Trails games before, but like, they should acknowledge that some people are going to be coming to your game for the first time, even if it's the last game, whatever. But my point is, like, you know, the whole thing about what is the thing that we talked about? Or is it orbs?
Yeah, the orbiment system.
Yeah, the orbiments like literally don't explain that to you, right?
Nope.
And so you often figure it out, and I'm like, that's like, and I'm glad I did it. I'm proud of myself. I feel accomplished, right? I pat myself on the back, but I'm like, that's an example of like, there's not, you know, where there's nonsensical pain in the ass friction instantiated a game for no reason, you know. And I'm so, you know, and again, I don't. That's not the most egregious example of it. There are way more egregious examples of it, but I'm like, that type of stuff. That's the type of stuff that makes a game inconvenient and actually makes it difficult, hard for you to get to the difficulty and the challenge and the consequence. So I think certain game developers and designers need to understand that difference, right, and go about designing their games that way. I think we get a lot of games that are like, you know, the types of games that people bounce off of are the games that like present something to you that you're like, this makes no freaking sense. Like, what am I supposed to be doing here? You know?
No, I definitely understand that, and that's why they were talking about, the thing that I liked about it is they were talking about more of the narrative side of it, and I felt like, to me, it felt like they were trying to come off as like, hey, we're doing something different, but I'm sitting here like, not really. Like, we just had, and I say just, it's been over a year, but we just had Expedition 33. Okay, that game was an emotional crisis in a video game.
Facts. Full on facts.
That's all that was. That was an emotional crisis from literally 45 minutes in to the end of the game. Like, you get one 45-minute section of pure happiness, and then everything else is shit. Just everything else is shit. From finding out that, I'm not going to give anything away. The game's only a year old. But like, there's a lot of stuff in there that is just heartbreaking, that even makes you think, like, it made me think a lot about my childhood. Like, Monoko is 100% what I would have created as a child in my mind. And eventually our childhood things get put away and get lost to time. And like, there's so many threads that we can pull from that use suffering and use sadness and use those emotional beats to tell one of the coolest stories in a video game I have seen. Absolute masterclass to perfection. But, Faulky, what's your thoughts on this, man? Do you... I don't hear you talking about games that have a lot of suffering in them. Like, so what do you think on this? Are you more of a happy-go-lucky gamer, or do you feel like when you play games you really want to be emotionally challenged and the suffering aspect of it helps you with that?
Well, I grew up and started gaming when games were known, they didn't have different modes and all this other stuff in them. It was, this is a game, and there was ratings in the magazines of the game being whether it was an easy game, a medium, like an average game, or a hard game. And this is in a world before Souls games and all that crap. If anyone's alive now or listening that remembers those things, like, you know, At first, Crash Bandicoot. We were playing games on Super NES, and it was no guides, no nothing. When Jurassic Park came out, they had the Jurassic Park game on the Sega, and people would get stuck at the first T-Rex, and it would take. You had to basically trial and error and restart the whole level again to try and figure out when you needed to jump or how you needed to do things. There was stuff in games that would be. I remember the Disney's tie-in game for Hercules. If you wanted to play it on easy mode, it stopped at the end of the 8th chapter, and it said, "Congratulations! If you want to access the rest of the game, go back and play it on normal or hard." Because they just progressively got more challenging as you got through the game. The levels got harder and harder as you got through the game, which was a byproduct of back then of when you were in the arcades, the game like Donkey Kong, when Mario climbing the ladders and the barrels are rolling down. They just progressively got harder and harder and harder, or more challenging, or things would speed up. Remember when people lost their mind about that Flappy Bird game?
Yeah.
I remember sitting there going, why are people going out of their brains and losing their minds about this? This is no different to the shit we had when I was a kid. Used to get a little Nintendo, like a pre-version of a DS, but it was just one game, like Duck Hunt, and that was it. So all it was on this little thing, you flick the screen up and you play it, and they'd just either get faster or it'd get more difficult or something until you game over and you go back and start again and try and beat your high score. The challenge of today's games where they say, oh, they're too easy, they're too guiding, they're too soft, they're too this. If you went back and applied that zero help, zero explanation, figure it out for yourself, which is what Crimson Desert got an absolute pasting for, might I add, and you try and wheel that into what would, in today's world, be a 40-hour game, no one would finish it. There'd be people wandering around in Death Stranding trying to figure out what they're meant to do if there wasn't all this help and assistance. They'd just be running around delivering packages. What am I meant to do? Where am I meant to go? In these open world things, you can turn all these assists off and all the rest of it, but unless you've got a story directing you where you need to go, people would just wander and never finish these games. It's different when you've got side scrollers and there's a game progression and all the rest of it. But even then, the Metroidvania ones could probably be a bit more challenging at times. It's I don't know. It's rose-colored glasses, I'm sure of it, the way I'm looking at it. But they used to be more difficult and challenging. And there were some games where you'd pick them up and you go, can't play that. I'm never going to finish that. I don't even want to spend the money on it because I just know I'm no good at it. Fighting games used to be a hell of a lot more challenging for the button inputs. Wrestling games used to have to, put input sequences of buttons to get them to work. None of this, just press this, hold that. Same with football and soccer and all those. I don't know if if the games need to be more challenging, or they need to be tougher, or they need to be less hand-holding and whatnot in the modern aspect, because introducing those assists has broadened the appeal and the ability of people to engage. And I don't think that's a bad thing in any way, shape or form. Just the vast different genres of games that exist now. And Animal Crossing New Horizons is a great example of people will sink thousands of hours into that thing, and there's no combat at all. It's like a cute and cuddly Nintendo version of The Sims. And that's that one when gangbusters, right place, right time. But how could you make that game more challenging? Why would you want to make that game more challenging? I think there's a time and place for it. There's certainly enough games out there that have that difficulty spike which turn people away from them, but they give that enjoyment to others. But I think just in a broader sense, I like games where you got to figure it out and trial and error. I like games where they don't tell you exactly. Like the tutorials is probably the thing that ticks me off. If you got to put a tutorial in there on how to do something in a game, you've not designed it well, in my opinion. But then the more complex some of these systems get in these larger games, it's an inevitable point. But like Unicorn Overlord, I picked that up. This is what you do. This is how you do. This is how it goes. But within the first sort of hour or two, got the pattern down, understand what's going on. Yep, great, off we go. Again, talking about older games, the tutorials you used to get in the original Final Fantasy games, they were, go here, put this here, put this here. You understand the concept? Great. Now have fun. Figure it out yourself. Cool. And part of the joy of discovering new things was the trial and error. And then the fun that came with that was the broken games, or the breaks in games, the glitches, where you could get like infinite power loops or infinite life loops or infinite money loops, like quirky little things. If you could get the cheat codes for God mode or something like that, or it just used to make you learn and get used to failing and trying again, and see people will lose a game in Fortnite these days, and they don't win, they come top 10, and the fucking controllers go flying, and they have massive blow ups about this and that and everything else. They got no patience. And then you get those of us, I wouldn't say old heads, but we grew up where we started playing. Racing games are a great example. If you touch the wall, you'd get bumped, or you touch anything and you'd slow down. And there was always a timer at the top. Doesn't matter if you're in arcade mode or GT mode or whatever it was, racing mode. You had to make the next checkpoint or you'd be game over. So you learnt how to drive or how to control the car, and not to touch anything. That was the only way you could actually win races or complete races. And they used to, like, the old Sega Daytona was hard as hell. And then translate that into, the original Colin McRae and all those sort of ones. You brushed aside and you'd tear half your car off. These days you play World Rally Championship and you can do 10 barrel rolls and still win the stage because it doesn't really affect, unless you turn the difficulty up to 11. So I don't know. Probably taking the long way of getting to. There's arguments for and against. I think some games could be more challenging, and some things could go be less helpful. A great example in recent history is Returnal. Saros is out today, and it's an evolution of that. When Returnal came out, you couldn't save. You had to start runs again. It took people a couple of weeks to figure out that there were certain things that carried over, and that was the whole gameplay loop, the point of it. But because of how it was presented, people thought it's a third-person shooter, and they've just made it difficult on purpose. It's like, no, it's a rogue-like game. You got to go back and start and all these runs again. That's that's how the game's designed. It just looks different. And then they ended up having to put saves in and all this other stuff to make it appealing for a broader audience. But I don't think they missed the market when they originally built the game. I think they were holding true to what they wanted. We'll wait and see what Saros, how that goes from today onwards. I think it's just recently launched. If it's not available right now, people will be playing it tonight here in Australia. I don't know. I think appealing to a broader audience is a positive, but they could do better in making things a bit more challenging at times. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting topic, and I'm glad we discussed it. It's part of why we like having these discussions, because the news is fun, but at the end of the day, being a gamer is more fun. So,
yeah.
And actually, funny enough, I think either my PlayStation is messed up or I don't know, but like I can go onto the Returnal page and it no longer is asking me to pre-order the game. It's just saying buy now. So it's also midnight here. So it might be available for play right now. But I'm going to grab my copy from GameStop tomorrow. But anyways, if anybody wants to play it, it looks like it's available. Guys, with that being said, we are going to postpone the post-game depression topic. I will get that linked into the Discord. I think Hero was asking for it, so I'll throw that in there right now. it's actually pretty interesting, and I'm really excited to talk about that. Also, listen, there is a website you can go to for DRM free games. It is GOG. It's where I got Diablo from. It's where I got the Balefire edition or the Hellfire edition of that. There's also a ton of other things on there. Chained Echoes is $9 right now. Like there's stuff you can find on there, and not just, hey, we're going to just look at old games. They do have new releases on there as well, where you can actually get on there and check them out and see what you're looking at and kind of what you want. They have a ton of crap, and all DRM free. So if like you have Doom Eternal on there right now, Strange Overlord, Stellaris, Cthulhu, Legacy of Kain, like these are just the top ones that are hitting. Neva, Hordes of Hell, Occultist, like there's a ton of stuff you can get that's DRM free that you never have to worry about. Or you can just, apathy or action. And with that, guys, that is going to be the show. Thank y'all for stopping by. Of course, once we got later on into the show, we kind of lost some people. So appreciate those who have stayed. Appreciate the 2 guests who have stayed. Holy crap, guys. We don't normally have 3-hour shows here. At least not lately. Good. Faulkner comes back and all of a sudden it's a 3-hour show.
I was gonna say, it might not have happened lately, but you got me on here, which is part of the problem. So.
It's part of the problem. Hey, seriously though, thank y'all for coming. Logic, let folks know where they can find you.
Probably here is best for right now. I'll be coming through here once a month at least.
Okay. Yeah, the link to his 2 other channels are in the description below. Enough to Keep Going and Rounding Off Infinity. Does really good stuff. Actually, Rounding Off Infinity has picked up several new subscribers since the last time I had mentioned. So, guys, go over there, support him on that. Really good. Love what they do. And I'm sorry, go support him on his channel. Love what he does. And then also check out Enough to Keep Going. I love the guys on there. It's just gamers talking about games, and it's so good. They're not bought, they're not paid for, and you get really good nuanced conversation. Faulkner, what about you, man? Where can people find you?
You can find me at Forky87 on Twitter, or you can find me poking around on a couple of different podcasts, primarily this one, and on some with Logic and some with Rap, and yeah, just keep an eye out. You'll see me popping up here and there.
Sick. Yeah, I actually saw you interacting with the chat tonight in the chat box, which was pretty cool. We don't normally get a Faulkner sighting in the chat box.
Oh, there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. I get distracted, and then I get wound up, and then I get in arguments, and then the not safe for children version of me comes out, and it can get quite aggressive. So,
well, hey guys, we got a huge compliment from somebody a couple weeks back that talked about how this is one of the only podcasts they like to listen to that has more than one person on it, because we don't talk over each other. We're very respectful of one another. Even if we disagree in an orderly fashion. So it's not a bunch of people yelling at each other. So guys, that's a lot to do with the guests that we have on the show. And it's because of y'all. I treat every single one of y'all more like co-hosts and co-producers of the show than anything else. If y'all have noticed, we've gotten really tight with who comes on now. It's Logic, Faulkner, Will, Morgan, and Nate are all guaranteed. When I can get Steven and Cosmic, they come on. When I can get Hero and Josh, they come on. But this is community driven. This is a 100% community driven podcast. If you haven't noticed, I reference the Discord quite a bit, and it's because the people who are in the Discord literally help shape the show every week, for lack of a better term. I know that there's somebody else who uses that term, and he's a big dividing line within the gaming community. Either you love them or you hate them, but it is true. If you're in the Discord, you do get a chance to shape the show. The things that y'all say, the things that y'all talk about, the things that I get to pick up from y'all, like we're all learning every day. And so join the Discord, hit the like, subscribe, do all of those things. Thank y'all for those who showed up. I loved seeing some new faces in here and some old faces that I haven't seen in a while. It was really cool seeing y'all. Thank y'all again. And yeah, with that, we will catch you on the next one next week. I'm hoping to have Steven back on. Reached out to him. He said to shoot him a line as to when. And next week I have an opening. So hopefully we get him back on. Love having Steven on the show. He is the definition of a gamer. And so it's really fun having him on. Hopefully we can make that happen. Outside of that, guys, thank y'all so much again. Like, subscribe, comment, and have a wonderful night and enjoy Saros tomorrow. Thank y'all so much, and we'll catch you on the next one.